Pretty good, are you? What's his number in his contract? Yeah, establish that. This is Captain. What's his number in contract? Left is the very risk.
Hi, Greg Pearson again.
949-8280. 8280. Down to the right. 949-8280. So, Dan, where are we at here?
Well, Greg said it's somewhat spiraling. We're able to find...
Say that again?
This thing is spiraling. We were able to find... they found the hook in servers that allowed this.
Greg just now told you it's spiraling, or what?
No.
Oh, when?
No, just overall.
Oh.
Overall, the investigation is spiraling. We found the hook. We found the Audit Monster plugin.
You want to just wait till they come in? It'd be easier than...
No, I agree. Just the business has some idea, how it was done, when it was done.
Do you know they never? I mean, I don't know if you guys are even wanting to use McAvoy, but they've never sent him a contract. Let me tell you what happened, just so you know. I mean, he's writing a great report. I don't know if you need it. I don't know what's going on here right now. I'm just like lost because nobody keeps in touch with me. But they sent him an email from Paul, said, I'd like a resume. He sent him a great resume, a Bachelor of Science degree, all he's done, everything he's done, written books, he teaches, he's done this kind of research before, all this stuff. He's never heard anything, and yet he's worked almost 100 hours now putting together like 8,000 hand histories that are all... Yeah, but he walked out on me yesterday. He said, Russ, they haven't called me back. I've been working 3 weeks. They haven't sent me any contract. They haven't communicated. They haven't done anything. So I'm just letting you know. He said, I'm going away for 10 days. I'm going to go... He works for PokerStars. It'd be a great result anyway. A guy that works for PokerStars, he gives you a good result. But he's going away, so he said, you tell me when I come back if they want me or not. He said, because they haven't...
Most likely, Paul has just sent the resume to the Mohawks. And we're getting there, waiting for their approval.
Okay.
But I think we're going to need the report. At least eliminate some of the sessions. They have to be tweaked somewhat. The times that they've discovered there's actually the Audit Monster in use. The report to be acknowledged that certain parts of the session were more aggressive or more...
I think the way he's doing the report is he does like the whole 10,000 hand history, and he tells you that plays short-handed, late, 2- and 3-handed, has to plays a lot of hands because it's short-handed. It's 2-handed, 3-handed. Plays real aggressive. Has never thrown away in 10,000 hands. Has never thrown away 2 kings against 2 aces, 2 queens against 2 anything, 2 jacks, 2 tens. Never has thrown away set over set. Has never thrown away flush against flush. Has never thrown anything away. Is very aggressive. So there's good, there's bad. I don't know what to tell you. Hey, what's up, bud? Good. I'm in Portland right now. Yes. Let me call right now. I got to make that call back there, and I'll get a hold of him. He's supposed to call me later. Let me make that call right now. Oh, well, let me make that call, and I'll call you back. Okay. What's up?
Okay, so what is the press? We have Cokes and Diet Pepsi and coffee corn. Okay, so I'll try to do what my perspective is on kind of where things are, what's been done, who knows what, that kind of thing. And you can correct whatever's not right to make sure we're on the same page, and then add whatever new stuff that's happening. So I explained to Russ and Sandy that very few people know exactly what's going on, that the business doesn't know, and that the business is, reacting to information and doing what you
But are there people in the business that'll talk like they did at AP, and that's what started the whole process?
Anything's possible, but the guy that's running the investigation on their side is very concerned about that and has done, reasonable steps to minimize information that's rolling around, not have lots of people looking at things, lock down accounts so that people can't send out stuff with IP addresses and that kind of stuff in it. So, anything's possible, but I don't know if you have any additional comments there. They're doing
better than it was. They put controls in place going there in the last one. So the average customer service rep can't run these accounts.
Yeah. So they're trying to take steps to have a very small group that is looking at stuff. Now, that still means there's a small group. And Yuri has been used extensively he's got the data. So it would make perfect sense if the business calls Yuri, right? I need this, I need that. What about these accounts, that, I need, whatever. What about these IPs, et cetera? And Yuri's not stupid. So, he doesn't know what's going on, but he's not dumb. And I don't know if he follows the forums. You might know that kind of stuff better. So but even if he's not following the forums, obviously he's probably poking around and looking at stuff and connecting dots. So Russ thinks, sidebar, Russ thinks that it maybe wasn't Jim Ryan that called.
I just talked to Tony. It's one of the two. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah. So I think it was Yuri.
It was Yuri?
I think maybe. Because Dan, it wasn't Ryan.
That doesn't make sense. The only person I can think that would know because.
Well, Yuri wouldn't know, but
Yuri would not know who owns the blackjack.
It's not blackjack, it's poker.
No, but Yuri wouldn't know who owns the software.
So I wouldn't be talking to Jim and Jim. Well, whatever. This really, it's something to come back to. I'm just saying that we might have a big problem with, obviously, if Yuri did that, this is like fucking unbelievable. Separate discussion, we need to go.
So tell me what Cookie was called.
Other business that I don't know about. Nothing involved in other business.
There's nothing that hurts?
Nothing that we're doing that involves no business. So other folks who talks to
This person knew that we were going to California to talk to him about interstate poker.
I don't understand why you're doing that. But it doesn't matter. Let's come back to that.
Yeah.
That's just more of a...
That's a question.
Yeah.
Well, whatever that conversation was, and that's what I found disturbing as the information was relayed to me. I was not part of the discussion with Tony. We haven't talked. Whoever the person was, they were acting in real time. Right. They knew we had a meeting the next day in California.
And they said specifically, Russ Hamilton won't get licensed. There's 20 million reasons. There's 20 million reasons why.
Yeah, he needs to hear that.
The person said there's 20 million reasons why he won't get licensed. It'll all come out very shortly. It's exactly what the person said.
So it was really strange because
There
are only
nobody that knows the numbers. I haven't told Cookie or
Jim Ryan?
So
Jim Ryan
doesn't know.
the reason
Other
this is
than
important.
early on, I gave him some idea of the magnitude.
The reason
But
this
it was
is
far
important-
less than it turned out to be.
the reason this is just important that there's somebody that is saying that it's something. Now, let's define who it is just for argument's sake. Let's go through a count. There are really 4 people in the world that knew that we had a meeting that could have communicated the information back in the way it came to Tony.
Well, that's not true. We
No.
sent an email to Jim Ryan and to Greg, but we don't know who Jim Ryan told.
Where the meeting was, did you?
No, but that doesn't matter. They didn't say to Tony, you're going tomorrow.
Well, I'm not sure. We'll go back and dig it up. But can we?
No, I think I saw that email. Jim sent it to me, and I said it.
So you see, he sent the email out.
And I wrote back to Jim, and I just said, look, Russ is right. You got to talk to him. This is the opportunity of a lifetime.
Oh. So if there, obviously, whoever did that, we got to figure it out.
Tony's remark was, this is why I believe it was Jim Ryan. Tony's remark was, maybe you're supposed to get back to this person and use them. But we were going to anyway.
Okay, so let's, on this issue, I want to make a note of it and come back at the end. So
You have to.
whoever it is, let's find out, deal with it appropriately. Obviously, you can't have the fewer people that are out there talking about it. But I just don't, so can we get back and...
Yeah.
So the business is independently doing all the things that you would expect them to do. And they are, they responded to this complaint thinking it was nothing, saw some big numbers. They then went to the KGC because of what has happened with the AP thing and said, okay, well, this is going to take some time, and don't come barging in here and give us some time. And I don't know how much they asked for, but I don't know what's reasonable to expect. But basically, bought themselves a month or two. You know how much time?
I think they said weeks. It's going to take weeks to go.
So, and then they're doing the things that I said at lunch. So I explained at lunch that the business is looking at what it can do to make associations green accounts.
If you actually want end results, I talked to Dan before he came in. If you actually want them from Tom on these 5 accounts, and you want reports, it's going to take 3 months. It's a long process. You can't do it. It's not a program that you hit a computer and it runs through it.
Yeah, I understand.
So it's not a few weeks, guys. It's 3 months to go through those. He spent 3 weeks relentlessly doing the one, and he's just about finished with the one.
So the original hope was that have the qualitative thing done that Tom is doing, and then have the mathematical thing done. And best case, they both say it's not clear. Worst case, they're conflicted, but at least you have an argument to say it's not clear, and how can you pay back if it's not clear, and move on. So that was the going-in assumption. You need to make a note, Dan, that apparently this Tom guy is not engaged anymore and has walked away.
No, I heard that.
Okay. So they're continuing to look through all this stuff. And my perspective, based on the increase of information that's coming from our business and our system, is that this is taking a little bit of a different track now. Not let's wait for the stuff to come back, but okay, we're leaping to the conclusion that we're going to have to do something. We're going to have to pay some percentage of this back. So now the question is how to bound it. That's my perspective on based on the kinds of questions that are coming, which might explain why de-emphasizing the qualitative stuff if they think it doesn't matter. I don't know. So Dan, maybe you can.
Yeah, no. What they did is they discovered this code, the server code that allowed viewing of the whole car. So like Yuri, at least he made it seem. Who knows exactly. So he's closed that apparently. Then, as a result of discovering that, they were able to find the name of the Audit Monster, and now they're able to. They've got evidence that look at certain percentages on these accounts, just say are damning, so where the value is extraordinarily high, higher than any other account, and that they've looked at, and it's a percentage which is expected to be between 10% for a good player. They've seen the money flows, which are very unusual, number of account name changes. They've seen the fact that, like, Barney was used to withdraw tons of money. They've seen, apparently, one of those poor guys.
No, maybe Freddie's ever withdrawn a penny.
Maybe even D.
Freddie D.
Yeah, D. So those people have, potential tax liabilities. So these are now innocent people who, they
don't have tax liabilities. I claimed the tax on my taxes.
So actually claim the winnings?
I claimed $5.2 million on internet poker.
So anyway, I guess everybody's just pretty shocked. This thing went on. The business sort of has come to the conclusion that I might have even known about this. Jim may have known about it. Great. Things are just so damning, the transfers that are involved and the amount of dollars, that I believe that the company went public and didn't know about it. Eventually, they're now looking at what their rights are and what they can do. The eventual outcome of this thing is that they try to undo the deal, split the business act, and just come out with the whole thing. Unfortunately, this is a business with hundreds of people. These are good people. These are people who tolerate any cheating. So, and they are insisting on, Paul does not want to be involved with it. He doesn't do the right thing. And so, essentially, I think what's happened here is that of this system. And knowing about that, business never would have gone public. People like Jim, of course, wouldn't have gotten involved. I never would have gotten involved. I mean, I look back, I spent a year, and this is just a personal note, I spent a year and a half of my life in Canada. And what was it for? It was to get $23 million to you guys, at IPO. And then you went on, and you cheated. You took $16 million from players. So you took $40 million out of this thing. And here I was working for Greg, who took a couple $1 million out. Basically, I mean, I just feel, and this is just a personal thing, I've got to separate myself from it, but I just feel like there's absolutely no way that I would have gotten involved in it. And I mean, if somebody like Sandy who's involved with you, if he knew that $18 million had been stolen off the site.
$5.
I mean,
Really?
it's
I
just,
had no idea any money was being
Right.
stolen off the site.
and there had to be more conspiracy. For you to just say that these people take millions off the site from you, they must have known something was going on.
Which period are you talking about, Dan, here?
Just, they've identified 14 accounts, essentially.
Which period of time are you talking about here?
Where did it go back to? They haven't gone back too far, which is good. They've only gone back to a certain period prior to Orgo. So we're talking 2005. They haven't gone
So
back.
this is Jim Ryan's time period that he was in there.
Yeah, most part.
Well, a lot of it was given to players to play tournaments, to stake them, to...
That's fine.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You're right, it doesn't matter.
I mean, I look on this list here. First guy on the list. He's one of the best poker players in the world. Prahlad Friedman.
Prahlad Friedman has never been involved in this in my life, so you're way out of line already.
You took 360 G's from him.
Took three. Okay, I didn't know what you're talking
He
about.
actually was involved with us. He was on the other side of the table.
Okay.
And
This is the loss list.
this is the loss list. And I see all the pros on here. Know what this, I mean, you know better than anybody. I mean, we're all destroyed. All our reputations are destroyed when this thing comes out.
Does it have to come out then?
I don't know. I mean, it's a bit of Greg and I don't want it to come out, obviously. Jim doesn't know the extent of it. When he knows the extent of it, he won't want to come out. He'll get scared. He doesn't know. You know, he doesn't know he doesn't know many details at all, other than the fact that there's...
But isn't there a way to go to Norton up here? Like you were talking today?
Yeah, oh no, Joe is a reasonable man. But I don't think he doesn't know the extent of it.
Who's driving the investigation?
Paul, really.
Oh,
He's all legged. He's been put in charge of it. Sort of the chief operating officer to Joe Norton. Visible, poor sort of person who's running the business. He's basically the CEO.
and
Hilt knows the numbers. Hilt doesn't know. Hilt and Scott don't know as much. Scott is really distant now from the company. Hilt stays involved, so he knows. Saul knows that he has an accountant who he says is an extremely trusted guy who's in the office named Ivan. He has he doesn't know the details of where the money is coming from, but he's for lists to try to compile and mitigate the potential damage. But Yuri, I think, knows. Now, if Yuri knows, I would imagine it's probably one product we need is some idea, but if he doesn't, Yuri's pretty good about that. Cookie.
what's his...
Cookie is our conduit with Joe. Cookie's in charge of the Joe relationship. Discussions that Paul has had with Joe. Cookie was actually had helpful in the sense he's the one who's told.
Who said that? Cookie?
Cookie. So he's managed to help push off the KGC with Joe. They're a good force for us in the sense that I think they can go out the KGC. Joe just doesn't want anything. His idea, the ideal thing would be if we call Joe and have some Irving. The problem is now that they found the loop. Paul has told Joe that he's closed it. That time he didn't go into as far as I know. He hasn't gone into the details of how it's been accessed. Now, using the iovation logs, you can actually see the times when Audit Monster was, or at least on. I don't know if it was used. One of the top guys on here is the person who's screaming for blood.
Trampoline.
Trampoline was taken for 177 G's. Woman, Linda Fosco.
Don't know it.
No, but you look at the list and the thing. I mean, it's just we see everybody that Lyle Berman's on here. Lyle Berman's way up here, actually. Somebody not. So Robert Williamson, he's a big loser. It's like a who's who of poker. These guys, and you look at their accounts, and like half of them are closed or totally empty right on the site, and part of them they got ripped off and stopped playing. Frankly, it's just a tragedy. It's just terrible.
Give me an idea of a settlement process that you think you get the numbers. Just
the ideal process. The ideal thing would be is if we, at this point, it seems like they know that the audit ideal scenario is like pushing Greg to come out and say, yes, the thing was used, but it was only not come out with any names. It may have to come out with a line like it was a former consultant to the company that had access. The biggest thing, though, is trying to limit this thing. Thing is so big, saying it's like one of the biggest thefts ever. Okay, I know, like they have, these shows on TV and stuff where they do these.
Talking about a guy who tries to steal $100 with a blackjack game, right?
No, they have serious money. Wow, broken into casinos and stolen like $1 million. This thing is like one of the biggest crime frauds ever. So, and the only people who I think know the true extent of this thing, which scares me, if somebody told Tony, first of all, it's not incorrect, but only people who have an idea of this number are probably Scott, who I haven't directly built type notes. Even Yuri could have added it up, I guess. That would have gone to my other lawyers.
Does Cookie know those numbers?
He doesn't.
Okay.
Not even close. No, when I was Cookie, I think initially he believed it was nothing. Now I think he believes it's. We tried not to alarm or tell Joe the full number. That would be scary. He's like personally liable for the sole proprietorship owned by Joe. He's right on that. So I mean, it affects him. I think what the other group is starting to think about is, my God, how do we preserve?
Why would this be any different than preserving absolute and UB if they just preserved AP for the same thing?
It's only the dollar amount that's involved. They're helping out with it.
But you're saying the number is lower, you think?
What I'm saying is, this gets back to your question. The business is, does the business want to do the right thing? Yes. Is the business willing to look for any reasonable way to limit this? Absolutely. So if there are ways to based on math, based on winning percentages, based on correlation between violation data, whatever. If there's a way to say, here's a significant percentage of it that the business can say we're confident, there's no cheating involved, but here's some percentage that we don't know, so okay, we're going to reimburse players for. They're willing to do that. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely.
So
all wants to do anything he can to try to lower the.
So it's, I don't know what you want to call that. It's something in between. It's not taking the ultra high road. It's not saying fuck it, I'm not going to do anything. It's something in between. But the point is, they're interested in coming up with reasonable arguments to minimize it. And that's a big part of what violation is doing right now. But violation really just means myself and I'm having Tom Wins do some reports and stuff, so I just don't want people.
Anything that Tom probably discovers, we must assume will go to Hilton, but that's probably okay. To date, we've been totally open with those guys. Everything. Right now, there is this dimension, I think, because a couple times they've asked me directly, come on, Dan, you have to know.
Well, I just want to address this.
And looking back at it, there were instances, that in our company, it's Capsule, which were weird looking back at it. Like, all these transfers had to be approved. Mm-hmm. I just remember Gail saying, don't even look at the transfers that Russ don't want to know what's going on there. Maybe it was just to protect, or maybe it was because they knew. I don't know. Frankly, you go through something like this and you just don't know.
Let's just go back to basic process. Seems from everything that I've heard so far, not having this blow up are aligned. Because there's no one other than somebody who is out at this that wants to see this go public. Even that person would not want to see it go public because they want money, not want their money back. Right. So what is the procedure to get formally agreed to then the process to solve the problem? But the magnitude drive us, I'm asking is, how do we make people's interests get together so that they can come up with a problem-solving solution set?
And it's something the first thing is we need to, but you spoke to him and he didn't deny making that all, but certainly we have to get to all these people again and emphasize, we're talking about this with everybody. Everybody's aware of it. probably completely quiet.
I think your question's a little different. I think your question is, at least the way I think about this, there's two kind of separate and somewhat independent things going on. There's other than that list, everyone interested in minimizing whatever the action is underway and lots and lots of time and energy, trying to do that. Then there is the, not wanting to, again, that was decided, not wanting this to blow up and what's happening there. And that's what I want to talk about. That's the other thing I want to talk about. Because the other thing's more just...
The list that's there is probably all accurate, but the list of people that have complained is very small.
Right.
It doesn't have to go back as far as you're going back to. I don't know what you're doing or what you have to do.
Yeah. So the worry...
What they've done is essentially they've looked at accounts that are very obvious. Essentially, I think 10 that are publicly on forums mentioned. They have a total number of 14 that they've looked at.
14 player accounts?
Yeah. Accounts that would use the Audit Monster.
Okay, fine.
So there's a process to minimize whatever it costs.
Well, that's
There's
the damage mitigation process.
Right.
Okay.
Which we can talk about just to understand it, but it's really more informational, and it's, again, other than that group, everybody's on the same page with minimize. But then there's the keep this from being a big story. That's the main reason for wanting to talk today is what's the attitude of folks involved. And so this is what I was mentioning at lunch is clearly I sure as hell don't want this to become a big issue. Obviously Russ doesn't, Dan doesn't, Jim does. So, but ultimately the person who's
even if it's an issue, it's a scandal. And just the key thing is
scandals, they come over. Look what AP did. They grew as soon as the scandal's over.
So, I mean, even announcing scandal, the way is to come out with a message that works. I think we can do that.
So what I want to get an update on.
Without revealing who it is, without revealing...
What you've got to do, Dan, is not reveal who it is. Because if you reveal who it is, then it just blows up everything and everybody.
No, I agree.
Completely.
I agree. None of us want it.
So you said something when you walked in here that scared the shit out of me about Joe Norton's attitude. And so let's talk about that.
Well, Joe is a very proud guy. Honor is critical. He doesn't think there's anything wrong with him. He doesn't feel like, even though he's in this weird situation where the U.S. thinks that he doesn't think there's anything wrong. Most important issue is honor. So
if you got this number down to a number, and the number was paid back, and Norton's group or something got paid something.
Well, Joe doesn't need to be paid, but that gaming commission.
Is that what you were talking about?
Joe will need to be satisfied that the players that were affected were some explanation on how it happened. I think we'll be able to deal with them. I just think that I do think that a piece of this is accountability. You're saying that this should all be on Excap's shoulders, and frankly, I agree that Excap's should pay a lot, just because they have the money. That's the real reason. But for money that was directly taken out by, withdrawn by Barney, what happened? This thing has sort of been, I think, used as your biggie bank one time.
We've discussed that. Greg can tell you, or I can tell you. It's real obvious. Some of it was used for players on the site, which still, you can go back and look, Crazy Canuck staked UB players. Freddie D, when he was part of it until you guys got rid of him, all that. So there was a lot of things that got used for sending players to Aruba for your tournament. In Europe, let's just leave it at that. It got used for a lot of the money got taken out put into the other company. It did get used for that. You're right.
But frankly, it doesn't. What was Mansour's knowledge of this?
None. Zero. Not until last night. I talked to him for the first time. The very first time.
But you had told me that there were times that you'd pay for him.
That was nothing. Yeah, that was nothing. Monster had no knowledge of this at all. So Monster should not even be brought into this. He had no knowledge till last night. Nothing.
So what I want to talk about is what are the options for going to Joe and saying the minimizing the damage piece. At this point, that seems kind of trivial and easy and just a lot of work. Making sure as few people as possible know that's a little trickier, but also just work. So then there's going to be, I think, a decent story. This is exactly what happened. We know precisely what happened. It was closed. This can't happen again. Here's the people impacted, and it's going back, right? So now, how do we? What are the options for paying it back to create an incentive for this Joe guy to say, hey, we don't disclose this because there's a chance of getting this thing back. So what are those options? So one option was I wanted to go through that list and see if are there individuals on that list, regardless of what it turns out to be, right? That list adds up to some big number, which we're trying to minimize, right? So the amounts aside, because the amounts might be different, depending how you slice it, it's possible that for an individual person the amount's actually more, right? But overall, the overall number goes down if you start eliminating it. But anyway, so the amounts aside, are there individuals on that list that for whatever reason you say the business shouldn't pay that?
If you want me to look at the list, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's some people that
Let me just take a look at the list.
if they were to come to the business and say, pay me, could
Are
explain.
you talking about people here that I think that would even have any idea at all?
No, I'm saying that how do I say this? The business.
Is this all the same sheet we're all looking at here? Oh, okay.
The business says if we.
Do you want me to check names of people I think should be reimbursed here?
No.
Is that better?
I want you to see if there's anyone on that list that you say the business should not pay this person for whatever reason. Either because you personally say that, hey, they're not coming back, and if they do, I'll deal with it. Because you just
There's a lot of these on here, whether you guys believe it or not, that were played and won without ever using that thing. A lot of times.
And right. And so
No, and that's a helpful thing because hopefully we can.
So first of all,
that.
so I know that, and that's a lot of the work that I'm doing is to try to line up of the, there's thousands of play sessions involved, right? So what I'm trying to do is exclude play sessions that there was no audit tool being used. That's what I'm doing.
There was a 6-month period through there where it didn't even work, and Travis just got it working. And I told you guys in Costa Rica how to repair the way to stop it. And I'm not sure if they did, but about 4 months ago it quit, so I would assume that that's what they did.
I don't.
What do you think it quit for?
Well, I don't know, but the code wasn't removed until recently.
Not the code.
It was just this thing that wouldn't accept.
All you had to do is you forced them to take an upgrade. If they weren't forced to take an upgrade, which I told them in Costa Rica.
So I don't know that. But my point here is, look, the business, regardless of whether someone's
Who shouldn't get paid back is what you're saying.
yeah, because of it, either a personal relationship or for whatever reason, you just know that if
Now, is this the available customer balance I hear?
I don't know. Just look at the.
Yeah, that happens to just be what their balance was as of that date. That's how much money they have in their UB account.
This is what they have over here.
Yeah. Third column is the loss.
So what you want me to say...
Somebody let's say that...
Let me say this a different way. If the business thinks that it needs to reimburse, pick a number, $4 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you say, for whatever reason, I, Russ, take responsibility for that person, that person, that person, that person, for whatever reason. Because you know them, personal relationship, because you're going to take care of a different way, whatever. But then that's a liability the business doesn't have to take care of, and that reduces their liability. That's the same thing as giving them money. Follow? So,
No.
okay.
Let's say, for example, let's say like Fred Davis.
I understand what you're saying.
Fred David's on this list?
But if he were, you would say, geez,
Take him off the
list, I'll talk to him. If he
Freddie
comes
Deeb
to-
is on the list, probably.
Freddie Deeb is on the list.
So,
Freddie Deeb is on the list here for what?
$52,000.
For losing?
Yes,
Yes.
Freddie Deeb lost money to me?
that's what it says.
I would lose money to Freddie Deeb when I go in here just to give him money to play with. It's got to be
Exactly.
impossible.
right. But
So that's
listen to what this is. This isn't every session ever played with those players. This is the sessions that are suspicious, that they suspect cheating was involved, right? So it's not every session ever played.
But if it's in that scenario where you may have dumped chips to him.
There's a lot of application here. Is this just a vial, bait sort? as opposed to...
What do you mean by duplication? Same
There might be some names, but that's just a player has multiple accounts.
That would mean a player has multiple accounts.
Okay.
If they have reading glasses.
Sorry.
All right.
Nobody?
Up a little.
Nobody has reading glasses?
Just the ones I'm wearing in the prescription.
Okay. Do I have to mark these now, or do I?
I'm just, there's a couple of ways to do this. I mean, we could literally go. It's mainly
Well, but
just
like
for
Lyle
screen
Berman's
pages.
never going to complain about anything. Freddie Deeby's never going to complain about anything. So I can go through and check those right off the bat.
And so, just for sake of discussion, if we said, if the business says to Joe, hey, Travis or whatever the story is going to personally take responsibility for Freddie Deeby. So therefore, that's if the business was going to have to pay him $50,000 and now they don't, that's like getting $50,000 cash, right? Well, just for sake of discussion, what happens if Freddie Deeby comes back in a year and says, "Give me money"? What should the business say?
Why
Does the business say,
here's
"Go talk
what
to
I
us"?
wonder. Why would Freddie Deeb come back to you and say in a year? He would
I don't
come
know.
back and say he thinks he got cheated or something?
Yeah.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
So in that scenario, we'd just be like, no,
Would
we're
it-
not getting paid. You speak to us. Have to deal with it.
So there might be no one on this list.
So is it, I mean, but these numbers that you're talking at here, like, let's just look at, say, Mahatma, okay? This $360,000, does that mean he lost it to my account or he lost it in the game I was in?
So let's back up and talk about what these numbers are. So Sandy, I want you to explain this so that, because you're the numbers guy.
Well,
Okay.
but I don't understand.
What the business is doing is they're trying to minimize whatever this potential liability is. So if they suspect me of cheating and Dan loses money to you at the table, that doesn't count. What they're only looking at in the hands played throughout a session, net amounts that moved between that player and others. So if Dan lost to Sandy, that doesn't count. They're only looking at monies.
So if you're Mahatma, and I'm Neo, and that's Sandy and that's Dan.
I'll be Audit Monster, so I'm not even playing. I'm just
No, you're Dan and you're Sandy and you're Mahatma.
Right.
I'm Neo, and we're playing. And he beat you for $100,000 in this session.
That's not held against you.
So it's only what I beat you for.
Right. Correct.
But it doesn't show that I lost to these other
Yes,
two.
it does. This is the net. So if there's a session, so let me.
So suppose Mahatma shows 300,000.
That means, look, let me just say this a different way.
that's exactly right.
Here's
It's possible that you actually lose
There's-
to me.
yeah.
And
Look,
it's not.
there are cases where there are losses when they know.
Say that again now?
There are cases where Neo lost money in a session,
Yeah.
and they know that the audit tool was being used. They want to consider that because that lowers their liability
Okay.
because that player lost money back to
Okay.
When there's a win, they're only looking at the net win for the Neo account. So if Neo broke even in a play session, and during that session where in fact that audit account was watching, this player lost $50,000 to that player, that doesn't count. It's
But
only
the place where it can be a multiplier is your Neo. Okay, let's say you lose $50,000 to Greg, win $50,000 from me.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the only times that we play with it against you in
Mhm.
our whole lives.
Yeah.
In that
The plus
scenario,
counts and minus doesn't.
exactly, you'd have to repay Greg, but
Right.
you can't get the money back from me.
See,
This is not a total movement analysis.
So so the real number win is not as much as it shows there, though.
the real number win's way bigger than this because there are many sessions where there was winning, but they're not looking at it because they're confident that there wasn't cheating involved. And I'm trying to add sessions to that list to make this number even smaller.
But it could be, what your point was, is that it could be, there are scenarios where you could break even, Neo could break even, yet they're still in that
On
loss.
the plus.
And then the reason is you can't take back money from some innocent player
But-
who happened to win from a cheater.
Right, but this is thousands of sessions. So the only way that doesn't get reduced is if there's never another session with that player where where it goes back and it nets out.
I think I'm better if I go through here and check people that I think you should pay.
So there's that many you think you're just going to take responsibility for?
I don't know what you mean by taking responsibility. I don't think that the other people on our check will come back and say anything, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so if they do,
It's players that I know that are chatting on out there now, that are active players, that are chatting, that I know are talking, that play and still current, and the other ones I don't think, like, even though Freddie Deep's still active, he's not going to say anything anyway. He's not going to come back and say we shoot.
so I'm not trying to say this any differently. I was there's only two ways to pay it back, right? One is to reduce their liability, i.e., take responsibility.
I'm confused what you're saying. So you're wanting me to check players and I'm going to go tell them I owe them money? Is that what you want me to tell them?
No.
What?
I want you to, if there's a player on here, like Freddie D would be a good example.
And he was to come back and say, I want money, or I come back and send an email that I want money, then I'd be responsible for that later.
Then what we would say is, no, we don't think so.
Okay.
You know, because we incorporate, maybe we could say, we thought it was suspicious play or something, and then we'd say, talk to us.
Right.
You just have
Why
to
would
deal
you
with
say talk to us, though?
Whatever the message is,
Okay.
but the point is that the business ends up not.
I understand,
paying
but
it.
tell me why would you say talk to? What would
I don't know
you
what I don't know what the message would be. But if a
I
player in the
understand,
future
okay.
came to the business and said, "What the fuck? I'm reading all this stuff on the internet.
Okay, I
I
understand.
played with them. I
I
have
understand,
or whatever. I
I
lost money. Pay me."
I understand. Do you
Then-
have dates on here too, or not?
This is just a summary. So
Summary. Really need reading glasses because I can't see this.
okay. So
Let me take this with me because I just can't do it here. Unless you give me reading
you
glasses.
want that?
I don't want it going out anywhere.
I don't want to copy this.
Well, what am I going to do wrong with it? What do you think? I'm going to send it out?
No, but what if you lose it?
I'm not going to lose it.
But I guess let's first get to this. I guess the primary thing here is that first we're trying, obviously, regardless of where we go, we're trying to minimize this thing to the absolute lowest we can. It's still going to be a large amount of money. More money than the business is just willing to fork out. So,
Is Trampoline a woman?
apparently, at least the name's under a woman, yeah.
I don't know.
The account name is Linda Foxwell.
Wait, like I don't know. I have no clue.
She must be. Or he's playing under his wife's name or something.
So one thing that we could do is
Are these all starting with the highest numbers and coming down, Dan? Because I really can't see them.
look. Let me just go fix this. So either we don't do this part and we look at other ways, or we just take a break and I'll run back to the office and do I have that electronically now? Okay. So why don't I just go across the street and print out just the names, nothing else on it, in like 50,000 point font so Russ can read it.
Just the names and nothing else. I'd like to see everything that's on here.
Okay.
This. I don't think you'd need the active or the...
I do need that, too. I'd like to see that.
Whatever. Okay.
I mean, this was actually trimmed down. We've got more stuff. This was just the things that I thought.
What else do you have?
All sorts of stuff is on there. I don't know what else. It's a big list. So just...
Well, whatever. But those are it's just obvious what to select and print, right?
I think they have the date that some dates on there.
If I just get a pair of glasses, it's a lot easier than you run over doing it, isn't it?
I mean,
Good, I've got them up here in the store upstairs.
So anyway, at this point, for us to come up and say that there was
I
no
don't think I got it yet.
the only way that will apply is to somehow allow you to this field log in and what you sort of follow that people buy basically. Something you know that they discovered the book in the server that allows this. Discovered the server mistake.
Right.
They've also discovered which account takes advantage of the mistake. And they have times now when this account logged in. So for us to come out and say the ideal, we've looked at this account, there's no cheating. It's going to be tough to sell. Now on the other hand, I think if what we can do is to say, we've studied it. We know that sometimes it was used, sometimes it was not. these limited times are the times it was used. These people are being refunded. And whatever the story is in the end, reports from somebody like McAvoy are going to have to back the story. So, we're going to have to say in there, after we determine...
What's the explanation for the person asking the question? And you must have asked the question yourself. For a third party to have had access to this tool.
I don't think we can, in the end, I don't think we can say that it was a third party. Say that there was a consultant that had knowledge of the code. And he hacked into the system. You're an expert. Hacked into the system, took advantage of this. And say that, similar to the last one.
Here's what I told Greg this morning. Travis, do you know Travis, my guy? Travis was willing to say that he did all this for me.
He hacked it. So
he actually is the one that fixed it. It was broken. He actually is the one that, and he's willing to say that he even went as far as to call up Freddie Deeb and say, Russ wants you to cash this, because he was like, everybody knows he does everything for me. He does my airline tickets, my schedules, he does everything. So if he was to call Freddie and say, Freddie, Russ wants to send you some money to cash, or Bonnie, he wants to send you some. So he's willing to say that he did this himself.
So the only person that he might have to say it to is the KGC.
He would.
We wouldn't want to say that's the one.
No, you don't want to say that to her, because they would know who Travis is, a lot of people.
Right. So no, what this is just, that's the explanation for the KGC in Norton. Say we've identified the guy. I think for the public, it just has to be former consultant at the company, took advantage of a server flaw by hacking in the client, been able to identify exactly when. Sometimes he played with it, sometimes he played without it. Sometimes he intentionally won, and sometimes he intentionally lost. Very erratic play. But we've been able to identify the times when the tool was up and their net wins. And that's what
and what you could also say is that the tool was originally set for a 15-minute delay,
and he hacked
it to a real time.
I think that's what we do.
It was originally, because Annie Duke used it on a 15-minute delay quite a few times.
But in the end, though, there'd be a refund. So what we were asking you in this exercise is not to say that you're going to pay these people, but to identify the people that you know well enough that you can explain it away to them, if they were ever to assert a claim against us.
Okay.
Like if they were ever to send an email.
I understand.
And what you would say is, when I say talk to us, it wouldn't be that you're involved. It's just that, I found this thing with Greg. This is what happened. Friends to the company we're not getting, I didn't take any money back, even though I was owed money. And, that's part of the story, is that I think, Russ, you have to be owed something here. Because, you played at these high-stakes tables. So, this thing has to have ripped you off, too. It has to have. So, otherwise it's not going to fly. And we can pick off the story for each person.
How do you think this money, suppose it's a $5 million, which Greg thinks it could be right around $5 million, if you had to pay players and give KGC.
If we can get it down to 5, I'd be happy.
And how does the money get paid?
We'll convince the business to pay some, straight off the top, just because of, that's...
It's CAPSA or AP, are you talking?
No, I'm talking about the business that's running the company right now, Norton's business.
AP or EUP? I'm confused.
Well, it's combined now.
It's combined, okay.
Right, the operators, the new enterprise.
I don't think they're responsible for anything.
They're not. But nonetheless, we're going to...
This is a damage mitigation.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're responsible for anything.
I agree.
So I don't think they're responsible for it.
Well, they're not morally responsible. However, they did buy this business. When they bought it, you always take a risk when you buy a business. Plus, they've made money.
Here's what I feel.
They've made money off the combined business for a year.
They have.
They can pay some of it just straight up.
They can pay some, but here's what I feel. I feel, and I did take this money, and I'm not trying to make it right, Dan, so we've got to get that out of the way real quick, okay? I did use a lot for stuff that you don't realize on here for the company that was paid for. Crazy Canuck, up until I quit working 4 months ago, you can go look at his account. I staked him on every term. I have to wear ultimate bet gear. He played all over the country for you guys. I didn't have him out there playing for me.
Right.
I mean, even Will called me up 4 months ago. He says, Russ, you quit staking Crazy Canuck. He goes, do you think we should still sponsor him? And I thought, if he's not going to play tournaments, I said, no, I wouldn't hire him anymore. But I had him out there wearing your stuff. When Freddie Deeb, up until the time that
I know.
Yeah, I understand. So there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of guys that I gave money to that it shows me winning. That I actually would send them $100,000 and say, I'm going to stake you. Not caring if they won or lost, just to get them to play in the big games.
Right.
So I would send a guy $100,000 or $50,000. I said 100. I'd send 25 or 20 or 10 or this to a lot of people. So a lot of these numbers is not all numbers that came out cash. Maybe cash, I don't know. Maybe $7 million. I don't know. You'd have to tell me that. I don't know. But Bonnie didn't get as much as Greg said here. Cash. Freddie Deeb got the most cash.
Also, that Fred and Bonnie together were like 5 to 6.
Yeah, that's what. Now you see, that's what I said. Bonnie Freddie got the majority of it.
I don't know who got it all.
Yeah, Freddie Deeb. Freddie Deeb got the majority.
Now Paul is convinced that Carolyn is involved.
She's not, and
only because the entries on all these things.
I know.
So.
And here's the thing with Travis. Travis would call Carolyn. Travis would call Carolyn and say, Russ wants you to change your name.
Right.
And Carolyn was...
Yeah. But Paul thinks that Carolyn was involved.
Really? Why?
Let me say why. Because that shows that SCAPS is responsible. Because Carolyn worked for Jim. Carolyn was one of Jim's VPs.
Hello.
Wow. It's a good thing.
Hey, Jimmy. Good. I'm in a meeting. Anything important?
Liability is the place where the money is. And, Jim's going to assert...
Tell me what. Tell me.
Stops all this stuff. Only way to get above that is to say it's fraud. This shows that perhaps the fraud is you.
Great. I love that.
So it's not a bad thing.
Thanks, Johnny. Right. Say that again. I'm sorry. I was Miami. There's a one, Miami John. I had him where you think you're right here. This guy. But, so it's...
No, I know.
And Andy and Phil, you've got to understand. You paid some of it. You paid some yourself. You got in trouble, I think, for it. They yelled at you. Greg called me at first and yelled at me. But I spent like $100,000 I had to put him on that golf thing on TV with the UB stuff. I didn't have him wear UB gear. He wore UB. So I spent a lot of this money here on things for people out there. I did take them. Okay, I'm just trying to...
Russ, I know
okay.
you.
Okay.
I mean, you helped a lot of people who needed the money with this. And, frankly, I think if you go back far enough, suspicions as to what was sanctioned, what wasn't, is when the company was in real bad shape.
We won't go back
somehow.
So we won't.
But anyway, no, the reason that it's not bad for Carolyn is because it's not bad for this whole, in the big picture, for Carolyn's name to be brought out there because it shows that SCAPS is responsible. She was a VP there. In order to get to SCAPS' money legally, they almost have to show fraud because they've gone through this clean bar process to pick all these other.
We're looking at two aspects of it. First off, back for the Audit Monster not being disclosed to the buyer.
Right. Well, yeah, that as well.
And then
But Jim Ryan
the fact.
Jim Ryan knew it was there. Didn't know what it had to be used for, but he knew it was there.
And he hid that from Yuri. Jason obviously was told not to tell Yuri about this. Jason went through the entire code base with Yuri. Yuri said the place where it was in the code was in an unusual place. Anyway, but so, yeah, no, so to shift responsibility to its NAFSA, which is my sort of goal, that unfortunately they're the only people who have the money who benefit from this. I mean, the reason that Russ, if this was used to support the props and to increase liquidity, SCAPS got the benefit of that.
And you got 100%. No one's going to say.
It was in the beginning, Dan. That's what it was.
I'm sure.
I don't want to say that in front of Greg because it's just not right. But
why else would it be in real time?
yeah. But I mean, later on,
audit function. There's no
and some was, and some at the end, and there would have been no SCAPS. So they've got to understand they've never had a company to take public for $400 million. But anyway, so how do you feel that the money? Here's what I think. Nick,
Well,
can I tell you what I think?
The business has to just pay some.
Can I tell you what I think?
Has to pay some.
And I feel I have to pay some.
Greg has to probably pay some.
That's exactly what I said today. I feel exactly the same thing. I feel that ex-capsa's deal that they make now with AP, what they're paying for the year, should be less. The shareholders don't know that the deal was for marketing or what, but it should be less. That's ex-capsa. It doesn't take anything out of the permanent stuff up there. It just takes the payments they're supposed to pay this year less. Some should be paid, I think, by Greg, and some should be paid by me. That's what I think.
And I think some, though, no, we have
AP, I mean, all four.
I feel like some should be paid out of ex-capsa's coffers right now.
Well, wouldn't that be the same thing as making the payments because they're just...
The problem is that that business doesn't have the cash flow to,
Oh, okay.
the cash up front.
But they don't have a coffer that you can get. The money's not out. Or can they can't take it
I
out.
would have to do some sort of settlement. They, as basically what Sandy was saying on the
This
sale.
is exactly, but this is, Sandy,
I'm listening.
I want you to listen, and listen, not as my friend or whatever, but as an attorney. Dan, is this not basically what I was telling Greg before when we met?
Well, I think you guys were having lots of discussions, and you may have said that, but I'm not sure that I was present when you did.
Okay.
Okay. What Dan and I have just discussed is a concept.
But let me, Dan, I got to tell you. Okay.
There's a concept called joint and several liability.
Yeah.
The three of us are engaged in an action that causes damage to a third party.
Yes.
We're in a partnership. It's a general
Yes.
partnership.
Munster had no knowledge of so I want you to know that. The last night, I called him last night. I left him a message. He called me at 1 o'clock in the morning. I just wanted to tell him that one more time.
Damage to the third party is $100. Collectively, we're on the hook for $100, but it's not $33.33 a piece. Whoever has the $100. And then there's rights of contribution
Between us.
But the fact is that the enterprise owes the $100. And what Dan is saying, unless I misunderstood you completely, is that ex-capsa owns a piece of the liability. It's got $50 million sitting in cash. It not only can, it should make a contribution to buy peace and let the rest sort itself out between the parties.
And Dan, listen, I want you to... Okay,
No,
well,
but
I want to talk to Dan private anyway.
I understand your position here, Russ. You don't have $16 million in the bank and then all your money and put it into your company. That's your position. You can't.
But I think you're going to get it down. I think you're going to get it down into the 5 to 6 to 7 million. Here's the one thing I want to say. What I did was wrong. It doesn't matter. I did use it at the beginning, but we'd have never had a business if we had. No matter what anybody tells you or anything like that. Okay. But let's forget that because some people don't want that brought up. Probably shouldn't be. I don't care. But I will tell. I don't know who you have to talk to, whether Hilt or Scott or who or what down there. I'll help pay some of this money out of my ex-capsa money too. I did what I did wrong. Ex-capsa, I think, owes some of this money though because it was part of their. They originally they had this thing. They used it. Jim Ryan was aware of it, didn't make him aware of it, didn't make Fury aware of it. So I think there's some responsibility for all of us. But I don't want these guys to be to the point to where they don't even want to talk to me again. Because I'll give these guys, I just got the other day a 1.4 million list from a guy from Europe, all European players. I can't use it. I can use it for my stuff, but it's all good.
You don't, Russ,
Yeah.
If we get through this, everybody will still be friends.
Okay. But
The key thing is for us to get through it.
you know, I know.
I feel like part of the story has to be that
It has.
for some of the people is that you were taking it.
I saw a list that I won $200,000 with my name on a sheet. I don't think I've won on the site. I don't think Russ Hamilton's a winner. I mean, everybody told me I saw a sheet from.
No, our Hamilton has been. They've cleared that. They're not looking at our Hamilton because it's enough losses.
I thought Russ Hamilton was a loser on the site, but I thought Dan is a winner. Russ Hamilton is a loser on the site, I think.
You might be an overall winner, but the good news is that account all is.
Yeah.
It says that there's enough in there that we don't have to bring it out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now Curtis's account, H. Curtis, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem account. But we don't want to come out and never mention that name, obviously.
No, we don't.
But our Hamilton is at least not being...
I think you clear the H. Curtis account you can, because a lot of people know him. That's his name. Helmut knows him. Andy knows him, and they know the name on the screen. But he's a big stakes player in California. He's a huge stakes player. He plays in all the big games with, Ben Affleck, not Ben Affleck, but all the guys over there. Tobey Maguire.
Affleck's on here.
Yeah, I know.
Affleck's on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he owes the company like $500,000 anyway, doesn't he? Does he, then?
Yeah, he does. Most of this is small amounts. Well, so anyway, my strategy at this point is just to try to lower the number as much as possible, but I do think we're headed towards some sort of for us to try to argue that...
Do you think we can work this down to a number to where we could give the refund and give the KGC to where they don't bring names? Because the names could destroy...
Yes.
And the names could destroy everybody. I mean, the company. Here's what I tried to tell Greg. If the names come out, it's going to go back a lot farther than 2005. And ex-CAPSA could lose this whole 52,000 or whatever. It's
47 million.
47.
No, I agree. No one has any interest in the names coming out.
You've
100% there.
If you've given thought to the worst case scenario, I sure have.
No, I have too.
And from Wednesday on, I've been...
No, we'll be watching 2 days.
I've got a call in right now. I'll call you right back.
Can I talk to you just for a second? Russ, I need to talk to Dan for a second.
Is tomorrow okay? Okay, because what originally he had done to me is he had told me... Okay, I know, but he had told me 10 o'clock. His secretary sent me. Then he called me yesterday and said he wanted the early show 7:30 or something. So that's where the confusion was. So that's what I'm trying to get corrected. I'll take care of it, and I'll call you back yourself. Thank you. Jack, it's Russ. Give me a call. Need to talk to you.
Okay, so basically, Greg,
Is this mine, Greg?
summarize. Well, up to the form. What we went through was in bad shape.
Look, I know...
Couldn't get everything else on here?
But pissing on your side, Dan.
Well, what else is there?
Oh, active.
They're active. Who cares?
The amount balance and stuff.
Their account balance right there.
Oh, this is their amount. Okay, this is their account. Okay.
The only thing that's not on there is the active status of...
Okay.
Okay, so anyway, what we went through was the fact that Russ, agreed. Obviously, this is wrong. He's personally benefited from some of it. But in large portion, and the great portion, went to other people who helped the service, what he said. So
I didn't say the largest portion. That's not true. A lot of it did.
A lot of it.
Okay.
And also, this thing went, we're lucky that we're cutting off the date where it is.
And send us at lunch.
So, bad business, you could go back further, and that would be bad. This could decrease it.
Herschel is never going to say a word, so I'm marking them. That's 100,000. Herschel.
Well, anyway, to explain what this is that if these guys were to call us somehow or other,
They can talk
we'd be
to me.
able to call you.
Absolutely.
We'd call you, and then
Yeah.
you'd say
I'll call them up.
how we can deal with them. No, one thing that Sandy was pointing out is that, look, go and check is for him to realize that if this thing were really to blow up, it would be more than Ross. Argument that Carolyn could have known about it if we didn't have some monies, all the monies. Critical not to, it's all. Plus, it would be such a good story. That's the thing that people love to read.
Whatever the amount is. You can't be any number over $1 million. Whatever it is, just needs to be whatever the generic.
What you should do is you should here's what's causing all the chat. Because only one statement's ever been made, and that was we've hired someone to look at these histories. That's it, and it took a long time to get that, and they've never said anything since. If someone would just put a statement out there that just to give you an update, you have to give them some kind of an update.
No, Paul is pounding us to give an update.
I mean, it's critical that you give them an update so they stop all their chatter. And I think a good person to give an update to is this trampoline through Helmut, because this trampoline calls Helmut a lot. Even in the chat, on their chat rooms, it says, I've called Phil, but he's in Europe right now. So if Phil would just say, you have to give them some time, post it on the boards, they're taking care of it, and they're working hard at going through every one of these accounts. Trampoline will go out and give you a good report. I don't know him to tell you, but Phil will do it.
Yeah, Phil is the absolute worst possible person on the planet to ever be even remotely close to this. It's unfortunate that I don't know how this person ever got a hold of Phil, but Phil is just the absolute worst.
That's how the whole thing started, was complaints to Phil. Because I'm Phil Helmut. He can't be controlled and explained away.
Who's Scott Mattisell? That Jim and Mike Mattisell?
Must be his brothers.
Clinton's on that list and some Mattisells on that list. So
Robert Williamson, you can take off it here.
It's going to take some convincing to get Jim to participate. Something I want to talk to you about. How we're going to do that. Don't
very, very much. But I just, my sense of, I do enough about this stuff and the way he handles it. I don't want this thing to escalate into some, okay, if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen, and now he's just going to dig his heels in and it's going to be a nightmare. So,
Greg, it could be a way bigger than the other way, though.
I don't know if I'll get into this again. You and I had this argument at lunch, and I just don't want to have this argument with you. You and I disagree about something.
But we're talking different about the difference since you walked away. We're not talking about one paying everything. We're not talking about that.
We just have differing opinions.
I think you're responsible for a certain piece. Don't get mad. I'm talking.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is we can't seem to get on the same page. You should be taking in his boots.
No, I don't think that.
Okay.
I think he should realize, though, that he's responsible for something here. Essentially, it has to be responsible for something. I'll argue that for the rest of the night. I don't think Jim Ryan should be quaking in his boots at all. I think Excaps was responsible for something. I'm not saying he should be quaking in his boots. But if he digs his heels in and he starts acting like a 3-year-old child, I mean, it's wrong.
All I'm saying is
Jim's, I agree, he's tough to, God, this
guy right here.
I mean, I think that
here's the guy that said $20,000.
Consider it, and you hate the approach, the sledgehammer approach.
Yeah, I know.
Here's a guy here's a guy that said $20,000 and still owes $20,000, but you got him down stuck here. So I mean, where you go, the guy like that, that's never paid. He owes money. So I guess, I don't know.
The big question is, are these people going to come to the company and ask for their share? And if they do, can we somehow just say, look,
I'm marking. I'm just going to leave him there. It doesn't matter. I don't know. It's never going to come on this site. Lee Salem. This guy fucking owes me $85,000. Let me give it to him on the site to play with. He owes $34,000. He owes me $85,000. He's never paid it. So I mean, I'm just going to mark him off. Lee Salem. I don't even think he plays anymore. Right around the south. I've never even heard of some of these names. You sure I've played with these people? I've never even heard of a lot of them.
Well, look, so the answer is 100% yes. But again, what we're trying to do is based on the snare stuff and detailed hand history. There's not sections that say, look, it wasn't used in that session, so it can't be considered. So, and all that gets pared down. This list is like, whatever, 1,200 things long, right? Yeah.
1,200 names.
So when some sessions get pulled out of this, A, likely going to be a list smaller than 1,200. B, it's entirely possible that there are some player balances in there that
Do you leave Phil Helmut in here, or do you take him out?
no guaranteed the session was cheated.
So no.
And so
I'm actually pleased that the number's so small. I think it's fine. Only $30,000.
So we can't. I don't think we can say.
Okay.
Phil comes
So it's quite good to Phil.
I think you have to.
Probably need Russ Hamilton in here.
I think the story has to be that you've been refunded something.
Pretty deep here. It's his wife.
Well, whatever this list looks like, Russ will take care of the column. Obviously, if Paul ever asks about being a refund or bylaw handshakes or whatever, they gotta know.
This is amazing.
Go right up to Paul.
Okay.
Here's one that says I beat for $22,000. That's me. That's my own account.
So that could be...
That's an old account I had that I was out there playing years ago.
So you had to have been playing at a table with one of the other accounts.
Yeah, I have to be playing with...
I don't know how. I never ever put two players together at one table ever. Never did.
Can we look at the cheating account list? That's
Never did. This one right here. Never played at a table with two people.
We'll just
Never played at a table with two people.
how exactly that got on the list, right?
great. You write on there, just right next. That's just on the top, but...
Well, I'll put the asterisk right here.
Yeah,
so you got to know.
Never played or...
Yeah.
So what that says is maybe when you come on the 14 that he says better than me.
Look,
I'll be honest.
There is some on the 14th, not me. I saw the names out there that you guys have got. That's why it would be good to send some of. That's why if you send some of those histories to me to do and let Tom do those, they're good. I told you guys. Here, wait a minute. Here's some of the names.
They have
IP address. I'll get right.
What?
all the IP addresses.
Okay.
But that's worth checking. It could be that one of the winning accounts that's
Right here, these names I never heard of before. Easy Champ they had out there, Three Wheel Hog, I Want Money 1222. I never heard of them.
I keep going because maybe there's some other things that will help find some. Don't forget, what they're doing
Our goal is to
they don't understand what's going on. What they're doing is they're looking at any connection by all those things that I mentioned. So it's possible that there's a connection made by IP address that, IP addresses recycle.
Or it could be even, let's say, some legitimate play coming from the IP address you normally use, somebody at your office that somehow got thrown into it.
Or someone logs into one of your office computers.
Devilfish, leave him on here. That's good. Huh?
What it becomes, that's kind of the
Yeah,
criteria.
the big criteria is if he comes, can you deal with him?
Yes.
And cross then put an X there. We don't know what the story is.
20,000. These are all small figures. These are all 10,000, 15,000. These are all small figures.
These are the ones that they think are part of the winning rings. One thing that looks bad on this is the way that pitch names. That's another thing. It's showing this to take one account and let them out.
So what I'm confused about is this is, I see, previous 1 and 2. Okay, so it's those.
It's a joke. He's a loser total through the years, I think.
That's good. Then that means that
We want to keep them in there.
I mean, I know what it is.
the question is there somebody on this list that you have no clue what it is?
No, really the question is on that, are there names on the list that never were used with the Audit Monster?
Right. I have no idea about that. I can't answer. Does that mean that these are previous names of this one?
Right.
Where's Neo? Oh, that's Neo. So Neo, that was the first name.
Name of the computer, name.
Different screen names.
Different screen names.
Use of money to that account.
Counting numerically the amounts in and out that goes in, goes out. That's not a new account number, but instead of being Dan, you're now Greg.
Right. And to the world.
And to the world, you're Greg.
Right. And that's unusual to do that. To have. Sometimes it's totally legitimate. Sometimes I might write into the site and say I'm being abused. Please change my name.
Right.
Or maybe some other reason. There are bona fide reasons to change. And with good customers, you might do it. Right. But with this, it shows a history of Carolyn changing the name with graphic changes. So
But what about these 2 days and then project and then 2 days and 2 days? Something like that. Something in that little.
Sounds like me. Paper chase.
So these are.
Are you looking on the transferring page now?
That's transfer page. I mean, Russ Hamilton's me.
No, the transferring page is simply some of the proceeds of your winnings have gone through these people. These people did not directly play, but these might be people where money was transferred to. You may have called and had money.
Yeah, paper traces, Chip Reese.
There might have been a time that you paid into the system or somehow.
Do you want to know what I did with Chip? Let me tell you what I did with Chip?
I don't know. Why does it matter?
Probably doesn't. It paid off at that time. But the Monster owed him from years ago when he was broke before he ever started with you guys.
But there's an example of, if that was just, I don't want to, Russ, I don't want to shift this to innocence, but that's an example of, like, that Monster should pony up for that right now. Aid with illegitimate means, benefited from it. He's got to, it's not only a question.
Can I say something?
But
just let me pay it. Don't. If you try and you're just going to cause animosity with Monster. He didn't have anything to do with this. Let me have that one. I'll pay it if I got to. Okay?
No. Okay. No,
okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
I understand you not wanting to bring it in. But
I just for that one thing. That's what the one thing was. I think it's the only account I ever paid for him. It's the only person.
Let's assume that they are talking about how you approach it and what's the...
Well, I don't think Joe and the good thing is the Joe Cookie relationship goes through me. And
Cookie talks to Joe? Or you talk to Joe?
I talk usually both at once, so sometimes I call Joe. But for something like this, we talk to both of them. I don't think Paul would be calling up Joe Norton without me. Anything with them, I'll be involved with. Paul is a friend. I have Paul's trust. Paul is a friend of the company. He knows that I'm just trying to... I think he speaks to you.
What about these full-tilt guys that never play in the site where they're not allowed to?
Yeah,
like
Greg mentioned those guys.
That's what they never will. He ain't going to be worried about 15,000. They played long. Phil Ivy's never going to be kicked. He calls me, I'll talk to Phil Ivy. Gus Hansen, I don't know that. Well, Phil Ivy, I know real well. Play golf with him all the time.
Yeah, the litmus test is if they contact the site, there'll be a special message. It'll go right to Paul. Paul will somehow call you and say, take care of it.
I'm just going to mark Gus Hansen because it's great. Ben Affleck, forgive me. Have him call me.
Cookie talks to Jim separately, just for their, just for Cookies and
Maybe a $25,000 mark there for the Cookie. A little bit of that he still owes.
So he, but on this particular instance, no, I'm the one who broke it. Things got a bit strained mainly due to this AP situation on money, and it was a bad situation.
I'm worried about the minimum strain, and I think he's kind of wanting nothing to do with these types of problems, just wants to distance himself, wants to be over. He just thought, well, this thing will just get set up, and then hope that the problems keep coming up, and it's a hassle, and it's increasing year to year.
Last conversation I had with Jim posed revision, which he set up, and running out of patience. That issue.
It sounds to me, knowing Jim, he's planted that story for the helpful filter back to us.
But I think there's been some trust damage, I think.
H. Curtis and Danny Boyd. Let me see that list. Curtis and Danny Boyd 55. You got to take them off and just clear those two because people know them out there, and they'll relay them.
Did you use the Monster then? Could you log into Houston's account and everything?
I did.
And he just unbeknownst to him.
Yeah.
See, that's the type of thing that we may need to McAvoy.
I will.
For that.
I'll make sure.
Part of the reason for the slow
roll.
But
Houston Curtis.
Russ, part of the reason for the slow rolling McAvoy is if he were to come out with this statement right now that Neo is perfectly clean, I think it would undermine him. You have to know what the story is, and his analysis has to back whatever it is. I communicated in an email.
He just said, give me a resume.
It sounds like it wasn't taking our time, take your time. It was more of a...
Give us a resume. That's all he said.
So it wasn't...
And he's worked 3 weeks.
I'll have Paul send an email.
Yeah. So obviously H. Curtis, Houston Curtis, who's...
Dennis Novinsky in Michigan. Everybody knows he's from mine. I believe every Aruba term is Dennis Novinsky. Dennis Novinsky.
Well, maybe that's kind of a good thing because in
a lot of the players,
these players, the real names in these accounts weren't involved in this. They're implicated by some other kinds. Names. There's some players that we are very confident.
Well, that's what I like.
Didn't know this happened. There are other players that may not be involved, but the business is going to credit, but they may not have been involved, so we don't want to.
I think the statement is like we've identified Neo, and maybe one other. You guys are bad apples. Total of 1.5 million being reimbursed.
I don't think you mentioned the number.
You might, if you want to, throw them a bone on that and say that in addition, there are other accounts that we can't prove, but they're associated. Reimbursements will be forthcoming, but we can't disclose the names of these accounts because
I wouldn't disclose any of the names that were bad. Then you're going to have
both ways.
because then you'll have people calling you that played with me on that didn't. I wouldn't disclose any names. I would just say we went through. There's some of them that were bad. There were some that we checked out okay. We went through. We checked where the Audit Monster was, but I wouldn't name any names. You name a name, you're just going to start more chatter out there. I'm naming names.
One thing we need, though, is that, like in the last one, the only way to satisfy these geeks was to send them their entire hand histories.
You can't do that.
And
you cannot send hand histories out.
They've got most of them already.
They don't have the hand histories that don't show.
Not with old cards, right? They just have
They don't. There's not one hand that they have that shows that's bad. Not one. Hand histories they have. There's no, like the AP thing. It was the most obvious thing in the world. They have not one hand, and they can go through every hand history they've had in 100,000 hands here. They can go through all those names. There's not one hand history that'll show up bad again. There's not one, Dan. You cannot send out hand histories here.
I'm not. Yeah. What I'm trying to do is find a solution that's going to.
They were not sending out hand. We went through, we checked, we've reimbursed, we're making payments here, and we're making everybody whole. The biggest one, Squawker, is Trampoline take care of. That's the one that's.
What is the story of that person? Is it about mitigation commissions? So the gaming commission can explain.
That first one, come in. If you want, what do you want to come up with?
I'm just wondering if there's a hope about it.
Maybe on that.
Oh, you're talking about Trampoline? Oh, tell me, it's a girl. I don't know what the person is.
What we could do with Trampoline, though, is actually, if we could, Phil said he'd do this for us, is help deal with this.
Phil knows Trampoline.
If he were to come out and say, look, I flew down to Costa Rica, explaining to me what they did. They went through this with excruciating detail. Everybody got paid back every penny. Otherwise, I wouldn't continue to represent them.
Okay, I like it. I love that. If this is just, hey, Phil, will you go take care of this person and that's it, that's a disaster. But if this is a actually fly Phil down there, right, and go through this stuff with Paul in excruciating detail about what was done, and Phil died, roll into that and say, just fine, and then Phil
can make a statement to the press saying, you can make a public statement saying the company did the right thing, and then one, that's what he's being paid for. So they need to do the same thing.
Okay, I love that.
Can't tell Phil any names.
So we're going to have to cover up a little bit. Because one thing that Phil knows is, if you remember, Paul and I called you initially on that Friday, and you said, "Oh, Neo, it's fine. I know him as a high-stakes player." Phil called us to initiate that. So we called Phil back and said, "Don't worry, Phil. Russ knows the guy. He's actually backed him in the past. High-stakes player from New York, just had a win streak."
You told Phil that?
Yeah. So somehow we're going to have to patch it up slightly. I think it's easily said by just saying, "Yeah, the person who did it, I backed. He screwed me."
I figure a different statement for that, though. I don't think that's good, but I'll tell you something different.
So anyway, something will have to be communicated.
Whatever it is, it needs to get coordinated. So it's not burdens of the thing running around like that.
Already public face. But when you give public face, no one's going to know who the hell Paul is, or
that's the same thing for Joe Norton.
Joe at least comes out with a release and says what it's in.
But still, how he is. My point is that for this vocal minority.
Right. Paul said that if we really wanted to, if necessary, he would do a call-in number. They actually have a forum to call in and
You run the messaging.
true, but some of these people need to go. If not that, at least the personal call. I mean, these people who are writing into the forums need to be called. In essence, they all need to be touched.
One-on-one conversation is a lot better.
So, okay, now, all right, let's talk about this thing, though. The bigger issue where you guys came to grip something. I feel like it's critical as part of this. If we're going to sell this thing, part of it has to be process to pitch in. Because otherwise they're going to think it's just some inside job. If we were to come to them and say, yes, Excaps is paying it all, or, Hilt and BIM, something you might want to think about is BIM's biggest thing that he always brings up is, frankly, I don't think it's a bad message to me. Yes, this is what happened. There's a flaw in the software. It was taken care of. When we sold the business, we agreed customer balances would be full. Turns out they weren't. They had a claim of fraud, so we settled it. I actually think it's a good story. The truth is often a good story.
I'm different about the message and what percentage it stays where. So, I would, so this is purely customer balance discussion. The way that the damage is the same, right? There was X million in the bank account. You thought you had whatever your percentage is of that, and now and then in terms of who pays it, if the institutional investors or if folks in their visuals in the business have to their contributions have to pay it.
Well, one thing that doesn't help us is that the business is cash poor. Great cash generator, but they've been putting out so many fires lately. We have the things we could have easily written the whole check for this. They're not in a position to do it.
This is the thing about Jim is now maybe they'll all be successful.
In the Einiger, maybe we put him down.
There's an example, yeah.
$1,500.
But this is an example of where Jim ultimately suggests that it's simply a silly of ex-CAPSA helping the short-term cash issue. So that's just a loan. That's not paying for it.
But he doesn't. Somebody has to communicate to him what happened here, and I'd like to do it at some point, but without being harsh on him, but just to say this is what happened. That speech that I gave about me. Like, look, this is what happened. I'd like to tell him, and I think Gail should be on there. And I'd like potentially Melissa. I'm just worried about Melissa because of her relation. My reason I mentioned her is because she's a director. But it really should be, ideally it would be Jim, Gail, Melissa. And then I'd ask you to come and Jan to come. And I'd just say, get on there. Tell the whole spiel, guys. When you hired me, you promised me you did the right thing here. We hired the best directors, and I know that all those directors will allow us, and it's going to hurt some of our reputations, but I'm not going to, how could I cash my dividend check without all involved? I was at fault because I was responsible for legal. Gail was much more involved, and she was the one who wanted it every transfer. I feel like we have to have the heart-to-heart, and we have to realize that's why. And that we're asking them for money because it's the right thing.
But I think most likely his initial response is going to be, well, maybe not. Unfortunately, my guess is his initial response is going to be, well, as is for a song, fraction of what it was worth. I just would worry that would be good.
Right, no, if he wants to get into the legal arguments, fine. He loses. You bring this case before a judge, he's done. They will find a way to impose liability. This would be a lawsuit brought in Malta. I think Malta's not going to make Excaps to pay back the legal. They're probably going to ignore this whole Canada. Years of litigation. Everybody's name would be brought through the mud. May have some technicalities, which he does. Sure, the thing says as is, but this is the type of extraordinary. For starters, if you look at the liability, more than half of it is before the sale date. It occurred before it was sold. So,
I understand that the paperwork, Jim's argument is going to be doesn't matter.
No, the paperwork is as is, but if you misrepresent and bill it.
Would it be knowingly obviously it's a story.
That's the question.
To me, Jim is absolutely going to be able to say.
He didn't.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Could Jim normally say he didn't tell you that this code was on there?
Well, maybe, yeah.
Could Jim normally say he didn't tell you that this code was on there?
Unfortunately, my guess is his initial response is going to be, well, as is for a song, fraction of what it was worth. I mean, I think, most likely,
he was told was there, he didn't disclose it.
I'm not sure.
Huh?
How do you know that?
I only
I
know.
don't know that for sure.
I just know from talking to Jerry. Well, the source that he found the code. Never was told. So Jim, I think what Russ is saying, Jim didn't tell Jerry.
I'm not sure Jim did.
You told me he knew the other day on the phone.
I'm not sure.
Just for a minute.
Well,
Hey, Bradley, what's going on? Good. Good. Hello. How are you?
not Audit Monster. Well, no, Jim may be right. There are all sorts of technicalities, but to give up his buck. I mean,
It's no problem. I'm not worried about it. As long as you just call me like this every now and then, it's fine. I wish you all the luck in the world. Okay, and good luck to you.
for him to cash his check without this being taken care of first. Wouldn't be right.
You're welcome. Go get him up there.
You said that the other day, and I thought you were...
Okay, man. Bye.
No,
No, what I'm saying is
proportionate.
all of us should. I mean, we need to pay these. I just know the dynamic that if we were to push this whole thing on the new business, half their problem is it's not only it's FAFSA, and it's other debt holder SGS. Happy as it is. I mean, they'd have to do something drastic. The way they could do it is if they want it the same way we do. If we have that protection, we can take that
There's no litigation remedy that's productive.
full story get out there.
There's just not
One thing we could do is, if we want time, but question whether it's cash should pay or not. We could have the Mohawk, take it to the Mohawk Tribunal.
FAFSA.
Issue would be is that the buyer would be going against its CAFSA to pay. CAFSA would say, no, we don't have to pay. So I mean, that could be decided in some private forum, I guess.
How does that solve the player problem?
There's like so many that issues, 100 list. All the issues from positive, negative around minimizing the risk. Actually not that aggressive. And then there's aggressive, and then it's just plain.
Right.
There's that. Then there's the short term, whatever the number is. There's an immediate, where does the money come from? And then there's the medium to long term issue of, okay, whichever pocket it came out of to take care of the immediate cash issue, over time, who ultimately pays the bill?
That issue, the other issues would be the dynamic with the KGC.
I was going to say.
Right.
I find you before when you.
This time,
What about Mark Stephen?
he's not getting the cent.
Huh?
We're not paying the cent.
Okay.
Go through it again.
Yeah. I found someone who went through it again, too. I'm just going through the big one church at the beginning. I'm not going to go through all of that. It's small stuff.
Well, I want to talk about the, if possible, about the nitty-gritty of separate from whatever the number is, because that's no longer continuing to a point. So there's some number. And then I also want to pass the short-term, where the hell does it come from? And I want to jump to the, long-term, who puts the bill? Russ going to personally be responsible for, and how does that get paid? I suggested that once was off issue. Move the stock next caps into some, for whatever the percentage. Move it into some entity that's obligated, whatever it's supposed to pay, until some number is reached. Right.
That's fine.
Your argument is fine. Your argument.
No, my argument is not. That's fine as long as it's what percentage that I should pay. That's not my argument. I don't feel I'm responsible for the whole thing. That's what I'm trying to say. That's the only thing I said at lunch. That was the only thing I ever said.
To the extent that there could be, with a formula, Russ, to the extent that there are other people who benefited from this gold, they should have also put their stock up. It's crazy.
Who?
I don't know who else, but I would know when the E-World got their shares. You didn't even take.
What are you talking about? I'm confused what you're saying right now. Who else should put up what?
No, all those out there are other people who have stock, too. No, maybe they're not all culpable.
What are you talking about? I'm confused.
I think women else who benefited from money that came off the site.
Nobody did it from benefit. There was no other person that benefited from any money that came off the site. That's what you're asking. Nobody. If that's what you're asking, there was nobody else that benefited.
Sure, the way that Jim would look at it is that all the E-World people.
There was no E-World people that were involved in it. None. None. You can take a look at their accounts. I mean, just go look at them. Monster's probably one of your biggest losers on the site buying. But David never. I mean, I hope he don't. He knows that Neo's me. I hope it's not released. I mean, I've always told him it's never. So that's why names don't get released yet. I think this is as good as I can do them. Can I take this like read glasses and give you another copy? I'm not going to lose it.
I feel like we should somehow read so it's just names or something that's singular. But we certainly can get you I think just the player list of affected people in alphabetical order.
Just the names of the players, not the screen.
Yeah. Are we going to make the 5:15 place, Andy?
What's the next one?
11:45 or something.
You need to
Stay? Okay.
I think we should try to hash it.
Okay,
Unless
that's
Eric
fine.
can't take it.
I mean, there's two ways. There's only two ways to look at this. There's percentage and there's dollar amount. So if there's some amount of money that walked off the site, if you look at it from a dollar perspective, your perspective is, well, yeah, but all that money didn't personally benefit.
The dollar amount was also look at the value of the company that was used for a dollar amount too. So I don't think you can use a dollar amount. I think that there's a share of everything that happened here that you're responsible for. It's my opinion. I mean, what are you looking at me like that for?
You're surprised?
Why?
Well, I think if your argument was, hey, that no money ever walked off the site and this was used for planning a host program, doing this plan, putting someone in or whatever it was, then maybe that would be a different argument. But if money walked off the site, and I barely understand the argument of, well, okay, fine, no one walked off the site, but a significant percentage of that was used to do stuff that benefited UB, so everybody should be therefore partially responsible for that. I have a hard enough time swallowing that one. But there is some amount of that sounds like that was just purely for doing other stuff with. And so it seems like should be some way to say, okay, well, how much is that? What dollar amount of that didn't benefit anybody but me, so therefore there's some number that says, take that out of my future excaps of stuff up until that point, and seems like it.
I mean, one thing about this thing is that Russ took this money and pumped it into the new business, so it's gone. That's sort of what I was hinting at, saying that other people, when Paul looks at it, he sees that all these accounts have the UBT on the email, because it's reasonable, because he's trying to connect the dots. I think, and I could feel like that personally, it would make it easier for everyone to swallow this. Not on the eWorld side, but you explain to Monster, look, this is why we went public. It's because of this. Everybody got their chunk when they
Explain to Monster, did you say?
Yeah, all the eWorld people. There's that whole group of people who got shares in excaps by virtue of their relationship.
What does that have to do with this?
How does this help? So kind of in this case, what's the end result?
Is that their stock also goes to this.
Their excaps stock?
Their excaps stock. But the theory being is that these people should continue to benefit from the other people who have paid back, shifting the responsibility to.
Those guys should still be in. They helped build the site to where it was. Those guys shouldn't be penalized for this here.
Those guys got paid, Russ. We went public.
But they didn't do anything wrong. It
doesn't matter. I'm just saying who benefited. We went public at this big valuation. And those were the guys.
I disagree with this completely. These guys didn't have anything to do with this at all. They didn't, nothing.
You already know how I feel on this one. I feel the same way. Every other shareholder, I would say, is because the deal that was done with eWorld was a combination of cash and stock. So it just seems like if they didn't know about it, they weren't involved in it. It's kind of hard to say, well, you got to pay more than any other shareholder. That's mine. But it's either dollar amount or percentage. You got to look at it one way or another.
I think the percentage is what it should be. think AP is responsible for some. I think ex-caps is responsible for some.
Just out of curiosity, how is AP, what's the argument for AP being responsible for anything?
Have to be responsible for something.
Why? I'm just asking, if I'm an AP shareholder, and someone comes and says,
Well, they made a lot of money. They made money off the site already, didn't they?
so I'm just to play a devil's advocate here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an AP shareholder, and someone comes and says, you're going to pay whatever percentage of this obligation that's arisen. Why? Well, because some percentage of it occurred on the watch of this new business. But I could see someone having a legitimate argument that says, so what? Platforms, that's the platform that came with this. I mean, I could say someone putting up an argument that says, no. So I'm just wanting to know what is the argument that's going to be made, which maybe they don't like, but is reasonable to say, well.
The only argument is, first of all, I don't think you can go, when you say AP, I don't think you meant the current business.
Okay, so let's separate these things into groups. So there's the original AP, there's the ex-CAPSA, essentially, equivalent.
SGS.
There's ex-CAPSA, and there's this SGS company. Those were shareholders of these original things. And there's NUCO. I call it APUB, whatever. So I jumped to the ex-CAPSA equivalent. So those SGS shareholders.
I don't know if they're responsible for anything.
Got what we were saying.
I agree with that. That would be like coming to APSA and saying AP.
So then there's the business. So what's the argument for the business being culpable? Well, they operated the site and they didn't have the wherewithal to go in and see if there are any, scrutinize transfers, scrutinize where money is going.
Prior to the acquisition, then it's the...
Seems to be pretty similar, Paul said with Carolyn, actually. Somehow she was, But I think the best argument is to say post-sale, they benefited by virtue of increased money. To go to the negligence argument that they should have known how big it is.
But isn't that the same argument that that's going to be used for ex-CAPSA? You're going to say to Jim, well, wait, I don't care if you knew or not. You're the ultimately responsible for what happened on your watch, right? You're going to say to Gail, wait a minute, you made this comment to Dan at some point of, oh shit, don't look at that stuff. It's a mess. Now maybe she only meant it's just there's lots of it, and it's going to take forever to figure it out, or maybe she meant I'm suspicious.
At some point, she audited the company. I make them on financials for hosting. My guess is that she didn't know, or she highlighted it and then asked Jim.
Because it doesn't seem to me that other parties would be willing to contribute.
No, but I think that
it will be that. This first question is going to be important.
I just want to make sure I understand what the dynamic of the discussion is.
Look, let me say this a different way. If $1 million walked off the site, and Russ said, I should personally be responsible for at least half of it. Right. So now, at least you know. Right. Or maybe it's a combination of things. Maybe it says X percentage. But what if the business said, we're going to do this, boxing it in. We're going to go after ex-CAPSA for 20 million or 16. Go after ex-CAPSA for the whole amount. Oh. Now what? So now, want to look at it by percentage, or do you want to look at it by...
Well, you can do it with a hybrid, which is a percentage against the cap.
I'll tell you what I'm confused by. Okay, what I'm confused by is Russ saying, hey, this has gone for a long time, and it was moved around the site, and the business benefited. So, okay, so the argument is that whatever that benefit is, and whatever that cost is, therefore, everybody involved should have to... But what about this other piece? So this other piece is different to me. The other piece is not things moving around the site. This is moving off the site. That just feels different to me.
It feels different to me, too. The reasoning for, I think, pulling it off is...
But it's irrelevant.
I know.
It's irrelevant. How is it relevant?
It's not, but to me it makes it a little slightly better. I don't know why. It makes more of an explanation. The strain of the business got to it.
If every single ex-CAPSA shareholder benefited from, had a piece of the UBT, then maybe you could argue, well, that's, okay, well. But
Did every Xcapsa shareholder have a benefit in the beginning if that happened?
What I'm saying is...
I agree with what you're saying, but every Xcapsa shareholder had a benefit in the beginning, too. They got it to the value that it was at, too. They got it to that $400 million IPO.
I understand.
Okay.
But what I'm struggling with is if the there's some overall number, and then there's a subset of that came off the site, and you're saying, well, but even of that, there's some percentage that in your mind, well, I paid for Bill or any or whatever, you need this or whatever. So you're, in your mind, well, there's some percentage that would go benefit. There's still some number that in your mind, well, okay, that wasn't that in the business. That was just whatever that number is.
Well, what I'm interested was to say is that there are dollars irrespective of how it gets calculated.
No, I don't think it's in dollars. I think it determines the number that they come up with. If they come up with a lot smaller number, I'm going to come up with a lot bigger percentage. I'm trying to see what this number is.
That's absolute dollar.
I don't know what this dollar amount is.
Well, everyone's in agreement that we have to try to lower the amount. This fact that you didn't use the tool all the time is helpful. You know, unfortunately, though, the times that you didn't use the tool and you didn't have the net win, you didn't do as well. I think you're overall a net winner. But management, it's going to be tilted way too much. There's a chance that on a couple of these accounts, like Houston's accounts,
First and Vanderboy, you need to fall off.
But for McAvoy's, when we get to that point,
Yeah.
McAvoy's analysis can't be that Neo is beautiful.
No.
You know, we have to,
No.
McAvoy's analysis is going to have to dovetail with our,
Yes.
which is one of the reasons we've delayed it. I feel like we've got to get that.
But they've got to give him a contract to work so he
I'll
does
do that right away. I'll have Paul send him the reason he asked for the resume is because that was requested by KGC. Yeah. But getting back to this issue, I think Greg has for a number of fronts. Greg has a valid point. Is first of all, it's simply going to the fact that Greg going to these people who are going to have to pay per day. Yes, but there's this stock in this entity, and this has been. I mean, just simply collecting the money that's important for you to know. Second thing is the blameworthiness. Whenever you have an issue like this, some people are blameworthy, and one of the ways to accept the blame is to make up for it.
But there's one. But
it's restitution essentially. It's to pay for. It's to pay what.
The business is going to have the following perspective. Let's say that when the dust settles, let's use different numbers.
Yeah. Okay.
So, well, actually, all those parties, I think. But if the business sees $1 walked off the site, and the person that they're looking at all this stuff for and say, okay, that benefited this person down here, and they're only going to contribute some percentage, which means 10 cents. The business is going to look at that and say, that's bullshit. I think.
So you can just say it one more time.
If $1 walked off the site, and the person that they're all seeing is responsible for getting that $1 off the site only reimburses the business for 10 cents, I think they're going to say that's bullshit. I personally think they're going to have.
So what do they want to do then? They just want to blow this whole thing up to where they just blow everything out and everybody gets hurt?
I don't know. I'm just
okay.
Common sense. Think about it.
I'm thinking of that, and I'm also thinking that if everything gets blown out of the water, Xcaps could go down the drain. UB, AP, I don't know what they do. I mean, everybody.
I hear you.
Okay.
But that still doesn't. That's still what you're trying to. I see what you're trying to do. You're saying, look, this tool is used longer and it's benefiting the business, right? So that has to be taken into consideration. I get your point. But there's still this perspective of, well, in your mind, there's no distinction between that and money that came off just for you. And I'm saying you may see it the same, but I guarantee you other people don't see it that way. And so if you end up contributing, however you end up contributing, $1, and there was $10 that came off, I could see parties involved saying, this is bullshit.
I don't intend to contribute $1 of $10.
Okay.
Okay.
So...
But I need to see a number. I just need to see a number that you're going to come up with.
Let's say it's $10 million.
Oh, jeez.
I think that the probably worst case probably, I mean, the worst case is the 16. And it's there's a possibility.
They used to just like you could get it down to 5, is what you said.
Now, depending how creative we get, could go lower. I think that 5 is a little optimistic, personally. I think that it'll end between 5 and 10, but I think that eventually 10 is a possibility. Certainly, if they reimburse the same way they reimbursed the last one, we'd be above 16. We are already finding ways to reduce the thing. He could be a good guy in the last one. $1 million. No money was ever stolen on the side. The pools just won the money and
Reflated.
or just moved it to corporate accounts and stuff. I mean, there's no money ever diverted. So it was much easier, to be a guy because it didn't cost the business that much. This one, the money's just gone. Some that was withdrawn, I think more of it, at least the way it falls, is just sort of spread. There's little transfers going everywhere. And so the money isn't there, so we have no choice but to.
But whether it's 5, 10, 11, or 9, 7, whatever, I mean, it's still going to be a huge number. And so my thought is that as more this number's moving around, I keep asking for more information, to help be more specific about where can you make a very solid argument that says, look, there was no audit tool connected during that section. It's ridiculous to include it.
Yeah.
So, that number has swung pretty wildly. That number has swung from a little bit less than 16 to something, in the 5-ish range. Then when you get more data, you say, well, that's a little too aggressive, and it moves up. And so there's still more data coming, and that number's going to move around. But I think that it's not an unreasonable thing to just for sake of discussion say, let's just use 10. Assume it's 10. Now what? It happens to be less, well, it'll lessen the cost everybody less. But I think I'm just stating the obvious. When you tell me if you disagree, but if the business is looking at all this, if this Paul guy is looking at all this and he sees that $100 went to this Russ guy, and Russ ends up paying 50 cents on the dollar for the money that went out, I think he's going to say, well, fuck it. I just feel
Well, Paul and Gary are the only ones, maybe Jim, concentrate on you. Paul, we had that call with him on Friday. So anyway, he's one. Now, what I've told Jim, of course, is just to say, we'll get this thing paid for up front, separate this. We're going to get this paid for up front.
Well, so this especially works if SGS shareholders don't have to pay anything. And this is the only people in the business is maybe Paul. And the problem is you've got this Yuri guy who's pulling all this data and seeing all this stuff, coming to conclusions, potentially even call.
I think that I could believe that Yuri calls Jim.
Well, in any case, so forget that angle. If Yuri is just, I think you can just see. Look at what he did when the AP stuff was gone. He was at the house, so you can assume he's doing the same thing. And he talks to Jim. So how's Jim not going to have this perspective of thinking that regardless of what names are released, if Yuri say, look, I'm seeing, and the story is that, no, so it's a computer guy.
So what if we put it on the computer guy?
And I think it helps. I think it helps. Versus think that, well, it's just a spin.
Both down? A year and a half ago. He figured a way to repair it.
No, I know the story is, but...
No, whatever that story is, for that audience, it was saying the thing.
Can't release his name because people know his name.
Nobody wants to release. The only person that can't be released is the state.
Nobody better. No, there's nobody better than...
Except for his location in the States.
Yeah. But if you don't release names, it doesn't matter. But if you just told Jim or Yuri, if you told Yuri or Jim or somebody, he does everything for me. He does all the stuff. He knows all the accounts. He is the one that, I said, hey, this thing quit working. Take a look at it. He went in and fixed it.
And that could actually be the story with who?
I don't think he took Phil, but...
Oh, you mean for Russ?
Yeah.
This is the test.
Okay, so, but getting back to what Greg is saying, the two assets, I think, that are relevant. There's three different asset pools here, Russ. First, there's like your personal stuff, unrelated to the business. Then there's the ex-captain stock. you got it because of this. And that's not the only stock that you got because of this. You got the stock in Greg's new company, which doesn't have value yet, Liability, as a result of the bid. There are three different places. I mean, I know enough from you is that you put everything you've got into this new business. But I do think it's a good story and a fair thing to do to say that some portion of some amount be paid back or bearing the upfront cost. Right now, ideally, we'd have a situation, okay, $10 million. Jim, you're liable for X out of the 10 business. You weren't involved, but you did get profits from this, and there's always a risk when you buy. You pay X, and then Russ says, okay, I'll pay the rest. I mean, we're not also sort of this issue that don't know what the liability is even going to be off with our number and our argument. It's still going to be an argument. Knowing the risk, because we're going to try to cut it lower. There's always a chance that people are knowing.
First, it's tickled to death with that number. I don't think they realize it's that high.
Now, as this number comes down, that number will come down. Maybe, like I said, it's possible based on the sessions it could go up.
I think that person thinks if they were to, I think that person thinks that if they were to get back $50,000 to $75,000, they'd be happy. You're way above something like that.
So, what can we do? Come back with proposals.
I think you need to come back with a number or something first. Let you know where you got to.
Well, we're starting off with this idea of 10.
Greg said he thinks he can get it to 5.
I agree.
Right, but that doesn't mean the business will swallow it. What I'm saying is, I think you can make it an aggressive argument and 5-6 range. You can make on the conservative side, what the upper end of the range is, and so the business is going to decide, it's got to go and make an argument to the KGC, and it's also got to stand up to potential scrutiny when the auditors come in and say, okay, now show me what we did. And so they just have to pick where in that continuum they think is. And so, yeah, I do think that if the business wants to be ultra aggressive about it, you can make an argument. I don't know if they're going to be comfortable. So I think the middle of the road one, just for sake of discussion, is reasonable, right? If you assume have a number to start with, put it in the realm of some
Fixing a number as a point of reference so that there's some...
Yeah, do it twice. Say, what if it's 10, what if it's 5? And then how does it work?
So let's hope it's 5. Nobody wants it to be.
I think everybody's agreeable that there's got whatever the number comes to, that there's going to be a resolution to how we all pay it. We just have to come to a way of getting it to where it's hushed and no names.
I'm not there. I feel different.
What do you mean?
I feel different.
About what?
I think what you just suggested is, regardless of what the number is, that it's just going to be a percentage. I just think that's bullshit. So in other words, if it's hypothetical, if it actually costs the business $1 million,
if it costs the business $1 million, I pay the whole $1 million. So
okay, well then I feel different.
Okay.
So what I thought I heard you communicating is that whatever the number is...
No, I just said that whatever it is, we'll figure out something. That's all I said. I didn't say that.
Okay. So how about this? How about think about what is the number where, regardless of what the business pays, you feel like, hey, this is what needs to come back. So if it got bigger, then it would be a percentage. Follow me? So you just
You're talking about a floor.
Yeah.
With an
regardless of what it is, I'm not. There would be a good example. Regardless of what the number is, guys. Hey, I'm saying if it was $1 million, I would say no one has to pay. I'll pay. Okay. Well, what about 2, 3, 4? I mean, what happens?
Now, one thing I don't know if you've got any, but any that you can put in up front. That obviously would. I don't know if you could. That would go a long way to satisfying. Jim and Greg seem to be good.
I'm going to say the licensee standard.
Laughing.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Greg is probably going to have to come out some money on it. No, I mean, I need to, Greg, I'm sure it's all the right way, but you've heard it in my voice, but to say that you're out of pocket a bit will greatly help in getting a chance up for telling Jim working on that. But I bet, if you look at the value that you've gotten out of this, you blame Greg for not taking more off the table when you should have this.
Whoever the person was that made the call to Tony probably caused us to lose our other business. We'll probably be shutting it down in a week or so. That person that made that call cost us a lot of money, probably. I don't know who it was,
I agree.
But that person probably cost us our business realistically within the next 2 weeks. Whoever that person was. So, I don't know who it was.
That person's just stupid because...
I think I know who it was. I still think I know who it was. But I don't know. That person was just absolute, complete moron.
Just hurt the situation.
Fortunately, I'm going to guess it was Ryan Liability. And then another call just said, Greg, doing anything in the U.S., anything in the U.S., never going to happen, blah, 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 waste of time. So what you think about get forward, getting your rest contract. And he's interested in doing anything
Hello.
in the U.S.
Joe?
My opinion.
Let me tell you
Hey, what's going on, bud?
what I think means.
A lot, just in the meeting right now. What's going on?
The thing I'm in the back of my mind, and now I'm getting super paranoid.
Well, go ahead. Well, have you talked to anyone yet? Yeah? Well? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. That's about it. If there's anybody who wants to give anything, just let me know. If there's anybody who wants to come, let me know. Just give me a call. Tell me if there's anybody that does. Okay. If you know any of them that know and they want to contribute something, just pick it up from here, that's all. Okay? Okay. If there's anybody, then just ask them, that's all. Okay, thanks, Rich. You think you can get it down into the 5 range there? I mean, I'll use my stock I've got. I mean, I just don't have any money now. Serious, I'm telling you. And probably that phone call, I mean, we probably had some investors that could actually really kind of, this fucking phone call somebody made. I don't know who did it. I don't know who went into Tony and did this. I have no idea, but boy, up the bandwagon with us. I mean, we might just, I don't know.
Mechanism to pay back, that would be the most important thing to get. Coming up with cash to take care of that issue is easier to do if it's not just an expense that's never coming back. Right? If there's a mechanism, the stock being used, where it can go back. So I think that helps.
What did you two just talk about?
Well, Sandy was just asking, what are we asking for? Since we haven't determined what the dollar amount, how are we supposed to come up with that? And what I think would be helpful is to do both a short-term and a long-term contribution. Short-term, I think you're right. The story is, look, I've got no money. Put it all in effort. Frankly, if you were to come up with something, even a nominal amount, I think in 45 days I can scrounge up X. Whatever that is, it's something. I think it goes somewhere. Long-term part, and basically all you have is to say that, well, not all.
Well, I can't do that, so now we need to go to the stock part. Like me and Greg were talking before you came in. So,
You have to do what?
come up with anything for them right now in this short term.
Right.
So,
Second piece, and I'm not saying that you'd be millions of dollars, 1,000. Drop in the bucket, but it shows something. It shows that you have some nominal amount.
that would be really good, except the fact is I had a guy in the office borrow $20,000 in his house just 2 days before I left just to pay some other stuff. So, it's
So
tough
you've
to
got
do that.
zero. So,
Yeah.
So your comment is you've got zero now. Then the next question is on the long term. Is there some way to pay back the people who put up this money? Basically, it's the big people like that I see. There may be someone.
Are you talking about paying back 100% of this money, or are you talking about everybody else taking a piece of this loss? What are you talking about?
Not paying back.
Oh.
If they paying back some of it. So
Of
when
course,
you say that,
yes, of course.
so like take your scraps of stock,
Yes.
Any dividends from that
Yes.
goes through. Now, another thing that's possible is this consolidation piece, and that's between you guys. But you've got to look Greg in the eye and say that you've earned that thing out of this company. Yeah.
Why do you think that's an issue?
Only because you got into this business. the two things you got for this business were
everybody here, including all the shareholders, got a lot out of the stock going public IPO for $400 million. That part was due to a lot of things that went on that weren't supposed to go on in the beginning. I'm not going back and saying, guys, you guys all got this because of that. You need to contribute here. So for me to look him in the eyes and say that I shouldn't get that is, my God, guys.
You want to unload it, though? You can.
Yeah, sure there are.
But no, we talked about the stock piece. And you said fine. So whatever the number is, to put it in some entity business. So my thought is that if the business paid it, then whatever this entity is that's created that has that stock in it pays the business until some numbers hit, and then it goes to Russ. There's upside. If ex-capsa does it, it gets pointed to wherever the.
Okay. Still think ex-capsa has to share in some of this because it was there in the beginning. I still think APUV, brand new one now, has to share in a little bit of this too.
I think the Hans should pay.
I didn't tell him not to tell him.
No, I think when the client was no longer supported, the assumption is, okay, well, it's dead.
Supported when you already took over from Don? Absolutely was.
I don't remember the exact date.
Well, I can tell you that it was absolutely supported when you already took it over from Don. So,
well, other than, so we've mentioned these guys. So, okay, so we've talked about the fact that the ex-capsa shares could be put in this thing. Something.
So if the number is 10, if the business pays back 10, and immediate contribution is 0, what percentage of the 10 is a long-term contribution? So as dividends flow out of ex-capsa, wherever it came from, dividends to this entity get pointed to pay back how much of the 10?
why are you asking me this until you tell me what everybody's contribution is here? Everybody's, including ex-capsa or AP?
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, what do you think there should be first?
I think realistically,
We're talking about the long-term.
Long-term.
Someone's paying. Obviously, someone has to pay.
And who's responsible for the whole thing? Not just long-term, but who's long-term, the whole thing together? Whoever has to pay in the beginning. What are the?
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So if the business pays 10, I'm not talking about who comes up with the money to take care of the 10.
Okay.
We know that.
Okay.
You can't put anything in.
Okay.
So your contribution is at 0. I'm talking about the long term. If this guy reaches in his pocket and says, "Here's $10 million,"
if the bill's $10 million, what do you think each person's contribution should be? If it was 10, let me ask Dan first. If it was 10, what do you think the contribution should be from each entity?
Well, I don't know why I'm fixating on this, but I just feel like I feel like the whole eWorld group should put their stock in. Like these guys were guys on the casino side.
eWorld had nothing to do with this.
But
if they put the fucking guys that made the fucking software out there in the beginning and put them in there, that's how it all started. The eWorld guys out there got stuck, didn't even know about it other than one other person. They didn't not one person know about it. And you keep wanting to throw these eWorld guys into it. That's not right.
I agree.
Okay.
So I feel like that they're more culpable. I just feel like that they manufactured this to get the IPO value up, and they were the biggest beneficiary.
They manufactured it to get the IPO up. Who did?
This tool was used in part to get the IPO value up, and people who mainly benefited from that IPO was the eWorld.
It wasn't. Those people, no, it wasn't. The eWorld people got bought out, came down, and were lied to in Aruba about what the company was worth when they brought Jim Ryan down when he took the company over to begin with. And they said, either we got to do this or we got to close it down. We're going to give you this X amount for it, and that's it. Then he took it public after that. That's not what happened. I mean, let's make this thing right, what's right here, but that's not what happened. Jim Ryan came to Aruba with me and Mansour. They lied to us on what? I mean, we did okay. I'm not arguing, and we didn't do okay. But the people went public after that. It was a year and a half after that.
I think that they're more culpable than the ex-capsa.
Who is?
The eWorld group.
I know you feel that way. I don't know why you feel that way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I just find it hard to believe.
The shareholders came out.
because these people directly benefited from this play. Transfer the money. Come on. You're telling me that using this tool, you didn't transfer all these evil guys' money?
Absolutely not. And you can bet me money and we can go in there. Absolutely not. You can bet me everything that we both will make for the rest of our lives.
So there's going to be no transfers.
There's absolutely not none.
None from your account to
There's none.
None to us.
There's none. I just told you there's none.
Not consistent.
Why are you asking me for the first time? Dan, I'm telling you the truth here. There's none that you will be.
I thought there was some money transferred to Munster.
The fucking, didn't he tell me what the money to Monsieur was? The money to Monsieur was to pay host payments, if that's what you're talking about. There was never no money to Monsieur to cash out. Never. Not a penny.
No, that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, maybe that's it. You guys got to stop this e-world stuff. The stockholders, when you took it public, shared way better value than what the e-world guys got for what they were supposed to have had. The e-world guys were supposed to have 16% of the rate right up top. Well, we were told we couldn't after that deal was made. Is that right or not? Okay, so.
This is one of the few things I agree with you on.
Okay. Well, so anyway, but if you exclude that group, I feel like it's got to be enough to.
I mean, this is what you're jumping past the whatever the number is to how long it's going to take to pay back, and is it reasonable, and right? That's what you're jumping to. You're jumping to the conclusion of, well, this stock is whatever percentage it is, and so it's going to be 5% of payments, and therefore it's going to take a long time to pay. I think that's what you're jumping to, and I'm not there yet. I'm jumping to the what amount of 10.
Do you think it's really going to be that high tech?
I don't know how else to say this. So
I think 10's within the possibilities.
Okay.
But I think that.
But are you going to tell the world it's 10? Because that's really going to be it. Okay.
I don't think even the statement earlier of 1.5 and others are. I mean, any number should be mentioned. If there's a number mentioned, I think it should be more along the lines of, look, there are a couple of accounts that are going to get as much as 50,000 or more, and there are accounts that have less than $1 coming to them, but every penny's coming back. A statement like that, I could see. But even hinting at the magnitude of this is a very bad thing.
You can't let them know the magnitude of it. You do, you just...
But anyway, so I know you nobody knows what this number's going to be. So even this morning, I asked Dan for some more information about sessions, because if I know... Right now, I only know either just start date or just end date on these sessions, and some of them are close enough together that it might make a big difference. If I can absolutely know beginning and end date for some of these sessions, and I can say that absolutely not, there was no Audit Monster logged in during that time, it has to be excluded, right? There may be some that have longer sessions that overlap that I'm excluding, so it could go up, it could go down. I mean. And so then the business needs to look at all these different ways to cut it, and decide, what they feel is, because this isn't an exact thing. I'll just give you an example. We have for this Audit Monster thing, Iovation knows the second it's connected to the site. Don't know what table it watched, and we don't know when it left. So now what does the business have to do? Well, the business has to say,
every table for an indefinite period of time?
well, that would be one way to do it. Another would be to say, pick a number. 12 hours, 9 hours, 6 hours, 3 hours. What is the window that you're going to go and sit down with the KGC and say, okay, here's all our data. These are facts. Indisputable. You send anyone in the world into audit all you want. These are the absolute facts. These are the assumptions that we use. Right? And so the business has to, come up with their position and make a fucking difference. If they say 12 hours versus
You don't have
3
a
hours.
log out time?
No. Iovation doesn't. You have to look at what Iovation does. Iovation is only interested in making associations
Never
between
any money transferred
the
to the world.
duration
Yeah,
of
never.
of it.
Just I'm telling you,
Find a way.
I know, but I've never, they've never had any money transferred. They've never had anything to do with it.
Not for all the periods.
No.
There are, so to say this a
I
different
didn't
way,
mean to yell at you, but no.
I understand you're defending him, and it's
Yes.
okay. So you appreciate it would help if there are other people.
in the old,
There is none.
that's
Would help, I know, there is none.
going back forever.
Okay.
You follow me?
Yeah, so you're purging your
It's a financial system, so financial
The
transactions,
SCAPs people are the ones
double entry accounting
benefited from
system,
the IPO, not us. They came in and bought us out before they knew. They told us, they said we might IPO at the very most, Dan. Listen to what you So you see, when they said the very most we can IPO for would be 80 to 100 million. That's what they told
we're
us.
talking about going
They
back
said, we have to buy you out though before we do it, or we got to close the business. This is what? Jim Ryan came to Aruba with him and told me and Mansour. And I tied our hands and said, either do this or we're going to close. IPO was going to be 80 to 100 million. It was to 100 million. So they got the benefit of it. We didn't get the
Before
benefit.
that, I have the beginning section of the table.
That's where I think XCAPS has got to be responsible for some of this. It was there at the beginning. It helped build that thing to that 400 million. Not the 100 million that they lied to us and told
You
us.
don't know what table
It got to the 400 million. That's how these guys got to the money. That's how all the shareholders, that's how he got 20% of 400 million, not 100 that we made our value.
I don't include it.
And XCAPS was there. Jim Ryan was there. They didn't tell them. They didn't tell them this code was there.
No, I know.
You know, so, and I am responsible for some. I agree.
To be able to make, those lines, part of it is to understand what the differences are. So, for example, if the difference, hypothetically, from going for, well, let's assume it was training for 6 hours, is a $100,000 difference from saying it was 12, well, fuck, let's say 12, right?
Right.
I mean, so they need to understand all those. Conversely, performance difference between, right? So that's the kind of stuff that's going on. So I think what Dan is just saying is that, so could you make an argument to get it down lower? And yes, but now as more data is coming in, it might make it harder for me to hold up the argument. Or easier. I'm not sure I need more data. But I still see this, at least. And when making a difference in sometimes. I have to do the best. But I think that there has to be, and maybe we just go away and think about it, but I think there just has to be some number that you say, whatever it is, that I should be responsible for. So independent of whether the business does 5, 10, 20.
Well, why don't I just say that I'm responsible for the stock that I've got there? Whatever it is, whatever it comes to over the course of time.
Yeah, if you were to say that, I think that's fair. I think I would, but frankly, I know that I don't know why I keep on harping back to this, but I just feel like that you should share this with some other people.
I should share it with other people. XCAPS should be responsible for some of this, and so should AP.
No,
I still think you're responsible.
I don't think
for
it's
some of
fair
this.
for you to give. I don't think it would be fair for you to give up your stock and somehow that XCAPS benefits from that.
No.
It goes beyond the liability.
I think what you just suggested is beyond. If you said I'm giving up the stock
Up to a certain number.
That's it.
I know that. It's just,
Okay. Well, you said a second ago is
I mean,
push it up, and
we're hopeful. I know that.
I want there to be some upside here. I think that there's no question some money should come back. I think it's only right. But once it's paid back, it doesn't make any sense. It's not fair that now whatever that percentage is continues to
accrue to the other shareholders.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
So
you figure out a fair percentage of that and tell me what it is.
okay, I will do that.
But figure out a fair percentage for XCAPS, because XCAPS, no matter what you say, owes something here.
So here's, I'll tell you what's going to happen for me. So I can't answer this because I have no clue because I don't see the business side of the money transfer stuff, right? So the business has some inkling of what left the system and got to you. So I want to know what that number is. If it's $1 million, well, I feel differently about it. If it's 15, and this thing costs the business 10, I would argue that you have to pay a big percentage of the 10. I feel that. So that's just how what I would have to do. I have to look at what's.
We're talking about the burnout of the value of the shares, so that
I also think, as part of this, it would just make my life a lot easier is that you come up with something short term. Now you can't, you don't have it, right? Sell half your violation shares. Greg can probably get a few $100,000 from that. And we say, Russ doesn't have any money. He's begged.
I don't want to sell those shares. I want to sell those shares for down the road.
Everybody does.
Okay?
he's getting old.
Yeah, but I mean, let's look at the relative amount of shares, okay? So you have like 250,000 shares in there. I've got 12,000. I put in as much time as you. You got a disproportionate amount because you have this, because of your relationship with eWorld and Excapsa. That's the reason. You were
I
paying
don't
for
have
that.
250,000 shares. Half of those shares are Monsters. Didn't you mean no it?
I'm not arguing.
Okay. So
No, but all I'm saying is you got a disproportionately larger amount than anybody else because of the relationship with the business, which is fine.
and I helped grow the business to a $400 million IPO.
That's true. But all I'm saying is that that's, in my book, I view those violation shares as similar to the Excapsa shares. They're products of your involvement.
Can we agree that that issue won't be settled up? Okay. Avoid. I think you just made some real serious progress.
I tell you what probably helps you is player accounts that we marked add up to not quite 7% of it. So the reason I use a percentage is
This player account's there. That's good.
So if the number is 5 million,
That's a big contribution right there that I'll add to this.
So I think this is part of it, is to say the number is this, but there are some players he's just personally taking responsibility for. That's a number.
No, that goes a long way, I agree.
Call me, Lyle Burm Colors, guys. We did all this research. We went through every one. Your times with this person, you
Yeah,
won.
but don't tell the world that's what you're going to do.
I didn't say
I want
tell the world.
Jim Ryan to think that it's out of pocket. You're taking care of the kids directly.
I'm not going to tell the world that. I just said,
okay.
the biggest thing we disagree on is Excapsa. Jim Ryan owes some of this.
Well, let me just, I can't help you understand what I'm trying to say here. I don't know if you do.
Great.
It's very simple. If $100 walked off the site, and the cost to the business is $200, I feel better about the business, contributing a significant percentage of that. If conversely, $2 walked off the site, and the actual cost for the business is going to be $1, it's just hard for me to swallow that you wouldn't have to pay it all, because more than twice of that walked off the site, and in my mind, it's irrelevant what it was used for. That's just how.
But preliminary numbers indicate it's much more like the former.
I'm going to come.
The withdrawals seem to be limited, and as you said, right?
So if you said
No.
the number's 5.
Yeah, that's what I think it's more like, 5%.
And then I feel different about it. If the cost of the business is going to be 10, and 5 walked off, it's not different.
Let me ask you this: when we measure the cost of the business,
It's nominal.
when we measure the business, whether if you credit their account, wrong. So the actual cost
So
how does that fit?
So I hear what you're going to say. So my first opinion is that it's part of the equation difficult to put a finger on.
Hello?
Which I'll explain. And there's part of it super easy.
Yeah, cash is cash.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for a call back from Jack McClellan. Can you call me back in about an hour? It's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be tomorrow, though.
Something never changes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, guys.
So So there's two parts to this. Let's say the business is in the 100 accounts. It's in their account. Okay. Two things happen. One, the easy part is, after some period of time, some of that no one ever claimed, went after, did anything with, and comes out of it.
Right.
Okay. Well, it's not 10 anymore. It's not right. I know how you feel about this, but that didn't actually cost the business anything.
It's a book loss.
I would say that I personally would say, well, that should be considered. That's just my opinion. Now, the part that's difficult is, well, that yes, some of those monies walk off the site and it's a real and significant cost. But guess what? It's at least 10% higher than what actually walked off because of processing and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, and I'm not saying to necessarily consider that cost, although maybe someone wants to do that. What I'm saying is there's an additional cost of money that walks off, but there's also a benefit in theory of money that stayed in and moved around because it got turned into rate.
Right.
But that's also messy because, well, if a player would have played anyway, that's not incremental revenue. You follow me?
No,
So here's a player that it currently has no money, like
Take the first guy, Prela.
yeah, Prolog Freeman. So he's got no money inside, 51 cents, and he's a Highland player. He ain't playing for 51 cents.
right.
Okay. You put money in his account, one of two things happen. Either walks with it. If you put in $260,000,
Mm-hmm.
he walks, and the business has to pay whatever the percentage is, and that's not quite, it's not size 10. The point is there's an additional cost getting out of the side, right?
Right.
Here's the next one, this Tom guy. He's got money on the system, and so putting more in his account, he may not play anymore. So to take out of the liability rate from that player is just, it's just messy. It's hard to tell what he would have been to get anyway. You follow me?
Yeah, I'm just trying.
So my point here is, I would personally say, whatever the incremental rate impact is,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever the incremental cost impact of getting money off the site is, I would say ignore that. There's going to be some incremental cost negative to getting money off the site. There's going to be some incremental benefit positive for additional play that might get created. Forget it. Don't count either one. That's a wash. But the one that I would argue for, I don't know how you feel about this, Dan, is if the business put $10 million into accounts, and after 6 months or whatever their cutoff is, they go back, they know the 1,200 accounts they transferred to, some of it never moved, it comes back.
No, and that's the way I see that.
The breakage factor.
The way I see that factoring in as a practical matter is when we negotiate with Jim 6 months later,
Yeah.
this will be paid back to you.
Now this is where, with Russ out here, I can be more passionate about something. This is where I think, I personally think that it's cash should help significantly on the cash flow piece of it. Because there's money sitting in the bank. It's not going to go anywhere. So what I would personally do is I would do an adjustment based on player deposits,
Mm-hmm.
and a significant one.
So it's a closing adjustment.
Post-closing adjustment.
Yeah. And so now a whole bunch of cash goes over to these guys so they can swallow whatever the fuck damage this thing does. They slow down the marketing, all the things they're doing. And then on
Recovery of breakage.
and also repayment. So there still could be the separate discussion that says, hypothetically, they sent over 5.
Right.
Okay. I would argue, well, whatever Russ's piece is of the cash, or this entity over here has to pay whatever percentage that is done,
Right.
and then it has to start paying the business until it hits whatever the other piece.
Got it.
And that's how I would do it. But we time is needed, and maybe, and maybe you hear me say, look, I'm partially responsible for this. That software was created under my watch, and when it was turned off, I wasn't smart enough to say turn it off. And also when the AP that would have thought about the fact that, gosh, I wonder if there's any possibility. So that's me. And all that is stuff you talk up. So there's something. And I don't know why that would be such a.
What's the issue?
Oh, the short term where the money comes from.
Well, it seems like that what we need to do is, first of all, everybody's in agreement that we have to really try and silence any potential leaks. Talk to everyone, make sure they say nothing. Second is we try to get this dollar amount down, absolute maximum extent.
Let me ask.
I looked at it one way. The players owe the second way.
Yeah, let me
Just to show you
just something. Did you have a conversation this week with anybody that, independent of Brett talking to Yuri, might have given somebody insight?
You know, so they posted on one of the sites one night. They posted
I
on the
never-
trampoline. We think you're
You didn't know
we think you're the superhero. They posted a handy play. Did he play at the end? Did you see it?
No, I don't follow that shit.
I mean, I just don't think they do it. Yeah.
If you slice it this way,
the AP.
the players owe $2 million.
I like that one.
Not recently.
Yeah, okay. So nothing happened this week that you would point your finger to? Okay.
What are you talking about, Sam?
And the 20 number, though, the 20, I mean, that's a wrong number. But it does.
I'm just,
This is the,
you know, I'm always interested.
I wanted A, and B, this is Mark.
Got it. So these are the ones that we don't have to pay.
I'm always interested in trying to figure out, you know, who's talking to whom.
Well, somebody out there is bad talking. If they called Tony yesterday, that's 2 days ago. That's bad.
Let me give you the example.
That is really bad.
I call Greg and I say, how are things going? What do you know about? I'm reaching out to Greg and I'm asking him specific questions.
You told me, I just thought of something. You told me over a week ago you talked to Jim Ryan and you said, how are things going? He said, not good. There's 20 million reasons why. 10 million
There
reasons
wasn't
why.
10 million reasons. What he said to me was, there's a $10 million problem.
This is non-sale. That's how others go. Did you want to talk to him?
What Jim said, that I called Jim about, it may have been at your suggestion, may have been on my own, about the software issue.
Mm-hmm.
And he then started to talk about where the revisions were going on the documents.
Because we were trying to get back to do the software with them to do the for California.
Brett was going up to meet with your.
This is going to happen in California, guys.
And it's feasible that
It is going to happen. In the UIGA bill, there's a cutout there. There is interesting.
Let me explain that in just a second. And I asked him how it was going, and he said, well, that part's going on a little slowly, but there's a new problem.
That's exactly what he said.
And I said, okay. I didn't feel like asking him about it on an open line.
And I never told Sandy anything about this problem until yesterday, first time, right?
Which problem? Oh, so I didn't know crap about it until after your discussion with Tony.
Yes.
So I have no idea. Just so we're all clear, by changing subjects for the moment. Wednesday, coming up, bill will be introduced in the California Assembly. That will provide, if it ever got through, card rooms in California will be licensed to operate online poker. So that's what the bill's basically going to say. Found out about this yesterday.
In the meeting with Leo Chu.
So you have to deal with an existing hardware.
My question came down to,
It will be good with licensing software.
Well, we were trying to work a deal with them, but somebody made a call to Tony in between and told him that they had somebody to do it, that I can never get licensed. And there's 20 million reasons why I'm not, and it'll be coming out in a few weeks.
you know, we're sitting there, and
I don't know who this was.
I mean, Tony is coming to me, and we're trying to put together a process which would benefit ex-capsule.
Couldn't be cookie cutter.
I'm just, when I talk to Cookie, I'm just going to say to him, when we talk to Tony lately, I've got a call.
Could be cookie. I mean, Jim just wouldn't say that. I mean, Tony, it's not.
Cookie would have no access.
Why would you say,
I just think it's got to be. I still think it's Jim Ryan. Because
he has my best interest at heart. He's a friend of mine.
I think it's Jim Ryan because when I said Jim Ryan, he's the only one that didn't say no. He just sat there quiet. The other ones who said, no, it's not that person. And then when I got to Jim Ryan, he's just quiet. And he says,
I'm surprised he wouldn't tell you to start with. And I was worried that I said this, now I'm being super.
It's a $2 billion business over here if you just took 5%. I mean, it's a $2 billion business. It's going to happen. I mean, the proposal we have was great, but somebody, bad enough to Tony, and I don't know how Tony feels about us now. The guy that's taking the bill to the legislature Wednesday, asked Sandy, stood up. We had a 2-hour meeting.
Lock these guys in a room.
He said, lock these 4 guys in a room and don't let them out until we get this thing done. But I don't know how Tony feels because of this call he had, so I don't know how to handle it because
Somehow Tony has to be told that it's in the best interest of the staff so they get this done.
Tony, this is why I think it's Jim Ryan, because he said, why don't you make a deal with your software provider? That's exactly what he's, why don't you make a deal with them? And maybe, he said, maybe, why don't you make a deal with them, and then they won't fight you. Wow, I can't believe Jerry would do that. That's just amazing.
I would be surprised.
The thing is, I mean, for this type of thing, it's got to be a California business.
It has to be somebody based in California.
Absolutely. They're not going to do
The servers are going to have to be in California. There's going to be a lot of...
And they need a lot of help. They need Tony to help with this legislature. Already, they needed stuff that we told them they needed to put into their bill that Tony needs to amend for them already. Everything that we had, they loved. I mean, they were in love with everything here. They were like,
a really good job.
yeah.
Do you want, give it to you?
I do.
Do you want me to give you back the selected player list with the ones marked on it?
So you get stuff.
Yeah, so give me a...
We could use that memory set.
Okay.
That's the exact thing we're looking at it to do, so I would appreciate
I already did.
Have you guys had any issues with PSA in the laptops? I haven't had any either, but I heard some stories.
No, I haven't, fortunately.
Same problem with this. We're talking about.
I heard a story on NPS confiscating laptops and mirroring hard drives. Randomly.
Where'd you hear this from?
I told them about NPR.
I've heard him before.
It seemed ridiculous. And,
But they have to take it away.
Yeah, they do.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, that's why people ran out carrying pencils and papers. When I was doing work in the Middle East, I never carried a laptop. And I didn't even carry the equivalent of a BlackBerry yet, because I didn't want anybody getting my phone log.
It's obvious file name.
I'll give it to you in a sec. This thing's a beat. Oh, forever to warm up.
Okay. So while we're waiting for that to warm up, on the money accounts one of these is Lyle Berman, and Russ says that's just normal.
These are all just transfer accounts.
Right, but there's a difference between just someone like Lyle you transferred money to versus one that was used.
Kid 55 took off the site.
Okay.
And August 17th took off the site. That's it.
The ones that are indicated
So
transfer money off the site. The others
Kid
are
55 and August 17th.
Now, one
Red
thing,
David's never taken a penny off. Russ Hamilton's never taken a penny off. T. Diddy, everything. Twan Lee, I sent him $10,000. How's he on there? I mean, that should never even be there. It's ridiculous.
but the thing about these, Russ, the thing about these accounts is that
I don't know what that is.
no,
What?
it helps to have a lot of these associated accounts because those people won't be refunded.
No.
Well, yeah, but that's what you and I disagree on. If someone like Lyle knew nothing
This
about
is
this,
the account where you gave us the credit to begin with that we used to give the players only. That's that one. This one, this should be your T. Diddy. I mean, I sent the guy $10,000 one time. I mean,
there must be more for it to be on this list. But the point is, if Bill Humby said, Russ, give me $50,000, and Russ transferred it to him on the site,
I understand. He's not culpable.
Mm-hmm. That's my opinion.
what did you say? It's good or bad? What
I'm saying is you can't then not pay Phil if Phil's involved. If one of those accounts is not involved,
No.
and know what's going on.
No.
Can't. That's my opinion.
No, there's a lot of transfers ago. Dewdrop is Dewey Tomko. He wanted $10,000. I don't even know what he's doing there. Dewey's never had no big transfers in there. Oh, when we opened Bet 21, Dewey, I gave him $100,000 to give his guys that he sent back. That's all that was. So Dewdrop's nothing. That's what Bet 21. He had a bunch of guys that were going to be affiliates.
I know.
Yeah.
So basically,
You could say, I mean,
these two, which are already marked.
Kid 55 and August 17 are the only one.
Okay. And there's no one on this list that isn't you. These are all you. Oh no, you said this is Houston Curtis, and you said this was this Dennis guy.
Yeah,
and you did play these accounts, but they don't know about it. So you said.
Yeah, they don't even know about it.
Okay.
Houston Curtis thinks I just.
So you got that, Dan?
I got Curtis. What's the other one, Dennis?
Danny _ Curtis.
I got that. Yeah.
And
Danny Boy 55.
He said it was a guy named Dennis
Novinsky. Novinskey.
And they didn't even know that you were playing their accounts?
No, Houston Curtis, I told him, I said, Houston's our production guy, and we needed money. And I said, Houston, I'm just going to put some money that I've got into your account. And I played his account, won it. He thought I just deposited it. That's all it was.
What's account list number 1?
But as far as Freddie B and Bonnie, Travis will say that he just told him to take it off for me. I mean, if you have to use Travis, if you have to, I don't know if you have to or not. If you have to use a name to Yuri, if you have to say that to Yuri or something.
Yuri, I don't think we'll need a name for. The only one that we need a name for is for Norton.
What do you actually need besides the name? Do you need something in writing?
After we figure out what the story is and get him to have a statement that totally corroborates it.
I have a question that will help me. I don't know if you can answer it. Though, over the last 2 years, when this Audit Monster thing was used, that was it. Like, what's the longest? I mean, what would be typical length of it?
1 hour. I mean, Tom Eccles doing the hand histories right now. They all show you the length of it.
Oh no, I'm not talking about the play session. I'm talking about if you sat down and you had 5 or 6 play sessions, but the Audit Monster thing's running here the whole time. So I'm not talking about sitting at a table. I'm talking about sitting down total in an evening with the Audit Monster thing running. Still your answer is an hour?
2 hours at the most. Probably. Never sat and played those 6, 7 hours at a time.
This can answer a lot, doesn't it?
I must have pulled off the wrong file. You said it was obvious.
Yes, indicated?
Oh, but the names were too long to show that.
Right. He has a long name. Got it. Yeah, it's really unfortunate that when the Audit Monster thing logged off, because it makes it huge. But there are lots there are definitely days where there are play sessions all day long. Hours. So, I'm not sure.
I guess the question is you log in with Audit Monster to commence?
A lot of times I didn't even log in with it. I just go over
That's clear.
That's an easy one.
No, that's easy to see. Well, let me just.
Our big one is there are times like you're playing with Audit Monster and you log out Audit Monster.
Here's what, I don't even, this might even be bad. At the end, what I was doing is I actually would log in Audit Monster to 10 games.
But not play. That's actually okay.
And not play.
See that. No, I'll show you. I see that. That's actually, that's okay. The problem is,
You have to give something to Tom if you want to keep it.
No, it's no problem.
And what I've done so far with Neo with him is it's all really good. So I'm going to give him some bad ones to where he says, well, these look a little suspicious, where they're not all good. Is that what you want, Fred?
I don't know.
Well, you don't want him just to give a good report on Neo, do you?
No, we have to wait and see. It's too early to tell. We have to decide what the story is eventually.
So here's an example. So this is all information that we know here in Portland. It's a lot. So this is just sorting stuff for me to do work, but the session details will be provided by you guys. So on the snare side, we know account names, times down to the millisecond, IP address, the device number, the navigation number, country it was in, region, city, the ISP that was being used. And what I was doing is, this is an old version, I've got a better one, but the point is, you can see that, okay, here is a login, it is a fact, and after that login, there are these sessions. These are play sessions. April 10 at these times.
What is the time?
Well, these are hours, 3, 4, 7. I'm trying to, you can zoom up here more specific. There's a play session that started at 3, 12, 4, 7, 8, 11.
Mm-hmm.
So this Audit Monster thing logged in at 3:36. And just before that, there was a session. I don't know if it was, if it ended before this. I'm waiting for that detail. But there was another one at 4, another one at 7, another one at 8.
And you
And what I don't know,
whether the Audit Monster was up.
right. And so what you have to do is you have to make some assumptions and say, well, if you assume it was on typically for 2 hours, 3 hours.
Does somebody have their phone charging?
I do.
Okay.
So you're saying that generally this was done in shorter stints of time.
So you wouldn't typically have the Audit Monster on for too long. Just to get your damage done and to get out.
I usually play an hour to 2 hours. Something like that.
So what this would suggest is that on that date I showed you, it would suggest that there were times throughout the day where you just played without it.
Mm-hmm.
So here's December 6th. So a bunch of dates here on December 6th where there's nothing. Last time this audit thing logged in was on the 5th. But
That's probably where I went in 10 different games and didn't play any of them. Probably. Yeah.
so this is the tricky part again. So here's an Audit Monster login at 1:44 on December 3rd. Just prior to that, at 1:16 and 1:19, there was a play session. And there's another play session at 1:43. That would be another thing that was very helpful. Is there typically have the Audit Monster thing on and then go sit down, or would you sit down and then turn on the other thing, or is it always random? Help me. Do you know?
Let me just think. I would typically sit down in the game first. See if there even was a game, jump around.
Okay.
Sometimes I wouldn't even turn it on. Sometimes I'd play for a half hour and turn it on. Sometimes I'd never turn it on. I'm just dependent.
Okay. Do you have answers about these timestamps and if they're end or beginning and all that?
I didn't call all that messaging, and I could call, but it's going to be too late for these one call. I can't log in. It's secured to my IP address. The only place I can log in is at work.
Got it. So the sooner I have that, I'm at a stopping point right now. I can't.
I can call 12. But he was actually going to take it even a step further and determine the duration of the
Either way, the duration of the beginning and the same thing.
Right, exactly.
Perfect. Okay. So I don't know if there's anything else that I need you on totally unrelated matters. I don't have
Door order with a liquidator in place.
White.
We'll get the next one.
There is actually a good restaurant at the airport.
That's one right before security.
Yeah, it's called.
Is there an airline that goes out of L.A. late at night? Because Southwest don't go up past 9:45. We don't get back in until like 10-something on this late flight.
On LA or Vegas?
Flying to L.A. because by the phone back to Vegas, it had free flight on last year. Had to stop over in Frisco. It took like 7 hours.
U.S. Air might have a flight out, a late flight. We can use the computer on the concierge desk upstairs.
I can turn my laptop on when we get to the airport, sit down at the restaurant.
Okay.
Anyway, you know what Stanford's for this.
Right.
It's actually pretty good.
So what's the follow-up from here? Who's going to contact whom?
I mean, I think first I'll get something out to McAvoy immediately. We're in a deep end, what we have to do is we have to work on getting
What we're trying to do, yeah. So what I'm trying to do is get more data to continue giving the business analysis capability. Then, and slice it literally by hour. So they can say how, if I look at it various ways, what does it do? Then, Paul is going to say, okay, I got this mathematician. So if I send them play sessions that I believe are effective and play sessions that I believe aren't, Mac support that. So that, again, follow me here?
Does the money transferred off the site?
No.
Okay.
No, this is solely looking at the two types of play sessions.
Okay.
Suspected and looks okay.
Got it.
And
Okay.
hopefully, when he looks at it, he looks at the math.
This is after McAvoy's.
This is McAvoy is doing it qualitative.
And you're doing it quantitative now.
This is a quantitative, statistical variance kind of an analysis.
Got it.
Can a player who's playing at a table three-handed, is that within how many sigma kind of expected, blah blah blah. So, if the slicing this by however they want to do, and it limits it, and you then take play sessions and send it back to the math guy. Now look at this group and this group and tell me what you think. And hopefully the person says, oh, yeah.
The math guy they hired is not good. I don't know if that's good or bad for us, but he's not good.
Doesn't have a good
What?
Doesn't have a good reputation.
He's a young guy that doesn't know he's a $1, $2 poker player that's got some websites out there. It's called something EV, and he even says, I'm getting out of poker, I'm going to try my hand at something else, and
What I'm worried about with the guy is that, well, you know.
that he tries to get a reputation and try and...
Well, I'm not going that far. I'm just saying that, he was...
One thing about him that's good is he said, I used to be this type player, then I figured out heads up and shorthanded, you just got to play fast and aggressive.
Right. So, anyway, send all these play sessions back to this math guy, having run both sets and hopefully say, this...
What's the expected value for
These
professional?
are in the realm of possibility. These
Expected
things,
value for professional with all
then
the
the business,
information.
when they go to the KGC and literally lays out, okay, let's talk about what we know, what we don't know, what we've done, our analysis. This is what we are going to do. Well, obviously, with Joe first, because he's got to go in there and sit there.
How did they pick this guy?
I don't know.
What house is it?
I think what it was is that Shackelford turned down the job. The guy from Blackjack site, Wizard of Oz. He turned down the
He's a
job.
very good friend of John Morehouse. The only two books he's ever wrote was with Morehouse.
Anyway, that's kind of the process. And hopefully those things help create
One good
story,
thing is I think he wants some sort of job out of this.
He wants a job from who?
After this, help us with our security and stuff. And
Who does?
this mathematician
Tell us the Super EV or whatever the name of the site. He wants a job with who?
with continued work from us, from the site. So that's helpful.
So who's hiring him? KGC or you?
We're hiring it, but we got KGC's approval on him.
Oh, so you're hiring him.
Yeah,
the business side.
businesses hiring.
Okay, I was confused.
But KGC has insisted on reviewing and approving. So they reviewed and approved this guy. I'm sure they'll do the same with McAvoy. But I'm sure the resume is just sitting on one of their desks. That's why they wanted the resume, to get KGC.
So is this kid going to come down there to do it, or is he going to do it from home?
I think he's going to
The
do
math guy?
Yeah.
They're sending him stripped down stuff with no player names in it, and then what they'll do is they'll regroup and just say, run that group and run this group. And he's not supposed to be doing it hand by hand, looking at players and all that stuff. He's just supposed to be. And even if he does, it's my understanding that all the names are being stripped out. So all he's going to know is player 1, player 2,
If
player
they make a mistake and send player names and hand histories, they're going to fuck up big time.
Yeah.
Who's doing this? You got to make sure.
Oh, he knows. There is always the risk. Why don't we just finish up here? Why not go back to that?
Okay, good.
Thanks, Nancy. We'll get through this.
Thank you, Dan. Enjoy. You're driving back tonight?
I never thought I'd be thankful that Scapsa hasn't distributed us our money yet, but this is the reason.
So the steps of what?
Hasn't paid us any of this money. It's a good thing that Scapsa has. That's right.
So this is an anecdote, pure anecdote.
I'll be right back. I got to run to the restroom.
What are you going to say? Pure anecdote what?